Chapter 42-42. Those who had not experienced the turmoil of that era did not know what a devastating disaster was. There was no future, no hope, as if there was no daylight. Bai Yu, who had died in the battle, did not want to experience the turmoil of that era again after he was lucky enough to be revived. It was too tragic. He looked at the world in front of him, and everything was beautiful. Even though he was not a saint yet, he still lived a comfortable and happy life. He did not need to be afraid or worry about the future. Therefore, during this period of time, he had been enjoying everything in this world. This was something that had not happened in the turbulent era. Until the annoying news came one after another, he had no choice but to listen to it. Therefore, he thought for a while. Was it a coincidence that he woke up so early, or was it fate? Was it a coincidence that he met Zi Chen, who had not become a saint yet? But whether it was a coincidence or not, Bai Yu felt that he should do something. The world was good, but everyone seemed to be asleep, and there was no sense of danger. Their realms were low, and their combat power was average, but they were all arrogant. In his eyes, this was like a monkey in a mountain without a tiger. When there was no danger, he could naturally do this, and he was enjoying it now. But once the demonic realm and the celestial realm invaded again, these people would not be enough to fight. Perhaps a single demonic realm could destroy an entire clan. If he wanted to change the current situation, he could only rely on those who were gradually waking up like him. Once these people were gathered, even if they could not drive those invaders out, they could at least protect themselves. In the past, there were not many forces that could protect themselves. Therefore, he decided to nip the problem in the bud. He stood in front of Zi Chen and said these words. Zi Chen did not seem to have any sense of danger. He laughed and said, "Me? If I send out a call, who will listen?" Bai Yu said in a low voice, "You don't know the tragedy of that era, and you don't know where your prestige was back then. Just with the name Zi Chen, you have the ability to make most of the revived people follow you." Zi Chen said, "Then I don't need to do it. The Holy Thunder Clan has a real saint of the ancient. Wouldn't it be better if he stepped in?" Bai Yu's mouth twitched. That person was called Lei Zhengke. He naturally knew who he was. At that time, he was surprised that this guy was still alive. In fact, Lei Zhengke's reputation back then wasn't small either. However, it was only in the later stages of the battle. However, that was only a small amount of fame. Compared to Zi Chen's fame in the past, it was nothing. In that era, Zi Chen could truly command hundreds of people with a single call. Seeing that Zi Chen was still hesitating, Bai Yu said, "If you don't trust yourself, then you can give it a try. After all, you won't lose anything." Zi Chen's expression suddenly changed. "Wait a moment," he said. Zi Chen's figure disappeared. Moments later, Zi Chen arrived outside the Holy Thunder Clan and saw a woman standing in the void. It was none other than the Frost Maiden. "Sister Hanu, what are you doing here?" Zi Chen was very surprised, and immediately walked forward. The Frost Maiden smiled and said, "This is for you. There are the coordinates of all the major regions inside, as well as the Demon Suppressing Gate and the God Suppressing Gate. When the time comes, just follow the coordinates and trigger them." In the past half year, the Frost Maiden's footprints had covered almost the entire Holy Spirit world, including some dangerous places. Originally, Zi Chen had taken out this item because it was too precious. It would be a waste to keep it by his side. He didn't expect the Frost Maiden to do so much for him after taking away the spirit core. For a moment, Zi Chen didn't know what to say. "No need to thank me. As long as you become stronger as soon as possible," the Frost Maiden said with a smile. Zi Chen suddenly thought of something, so he told her about Bai Yu's suggestion. After the Frost Maiden heard it, she didn't think for long. She quickly nodded and said, "That's actually good. It can be considered as lighting up a lamp for everyone. At the very least, there's a clear direction for the future." Clearly, the Frost Maiden agreed. Without staying for long, the Frost Maiden turned and left, her figure disappearing into thin air. Zi Chen returned to the Martial Heaven continent. Bai Yu was still waiting for him. His mind was racing as he tried to think of a way to convince Zi Chen. It was precisely because of this that he was so worried. Zi Chen said, What do you think if I give you this task? What? Bai Yu was startled. I think your previous suggestion is pretty good. What do you think if I give you this task? Repeated Zi Chen. Didn't you say you didn't agree? Why did you change your mind? Bai Yu was very curious. Just what had caused Zi Chen to change his mind? Just tell me if you're willing or not, said Zi Chen directly. I'm willing, of course I'm willing. Bai Yu nodded repeatedly. Summoning the original holy sovereigns was a supreme honor. In the future, his name would definitely be written in the records. Back then, he had been a rogue cultivator with no power to rely on. He had only been able to listen to their names and their glorious battle records. He had never imagined that in the present world, because he had awakened early, he would be together with the once famous Zi Chen. Furthermore, it was clear that Zi Chen was treating him as one of his own. Bai Yu was very excited and happy to facilitate this matter. As for how he would spread the news, he would naturally use the Holy Thunder Clan's channels and resources. It was hard to say if there was any power in the world that could compare to the Holy Thunder Clan, but there was no one who could surpass them. Bai Yu returned. He needed to properly plan this matter. 3 days later, a piece of news spread from the Sacred Thunder Tribe. It was like a never-ending ripple that continued to spread until it reached the entire Saint Spirit world. The original Holy Sovereign Zi Chen has summoned all the awakened ancient cultivators to the Holy Thunder Clan to discuss this matter. This news immediately caused an uproar. The Holy Sovereign Zi Chen. Could it be that Zi Chen had already become a Holy Sovereign? Wasn't he just an 8-star Holy Spirit not long ago? To the people of the present world, Zi Chen was just a newly risen Holy Spirit with unparalleled combat strength. However, to the existences of the previous era, the name Zi Chen was a symbol. In the past, the Holy Sovereign Zi Chen had an extremely good reputation and extremely strong combat strength. He was a true leader-level existence. After the news spread, many people treated him as a joke. Fortunately, the news continued to spread, and there would always be people who wanted to hear it. The matter of the recruitment was handled by Bai Yu. Zi Chen cultivated and worked hard to improve his realm and combat strength. At the same time, under his purposeful investigation, all kinds of news spread. It seemed that the entire Saint Spirit domain had suddenly become incomparably lively recently. Some spatial ripples had suddenly appeared in many places, and after investigating, there were always some gains. Chapter 42-43. The Wuluor Starfield. The Kui clan was the strongest power there. The heavy gate of the mansion slowly opened, and Kui Jing, dressed in green, walked out. She was accompanied by a servant girl who had grown up with her. She looked very obedient. The guards on either side looked straight ahead, their faces cold. Usually, at this time, they would salute the young woman. Even when they saw the servant girl, they would smile. But today, it was as if they were facing a stranger. Kui Jing looked back at the mansion. Her bright eyes were filled with anger and grievance, but more than that, there was a strong reluctance. "Miss, let's go," said the servant girl in a low voice. "If we don't leave now, the clan will send people to drive us away." "Kui Zhu, don't you believe me?" Kui Jing looked at the servant girl, her face as pale as paper. The servant girl smiled bitterly. "Of course I believe you, miss. But the clan leader doesn't, and the elders don't either. Miss, we've already been driven away. Let's hurry up and leave. Otherwise, there will be more unpleasant words." Kui Jing pursed her lips. She had always been strong-willed, so she resisted the urge to cry at this time. She took one last look at the place where she grew up and lived. At this time, they still don't want to see me. It seems they're determined to drive me out of the Kui clan. Fine. From now on, I have nothing to do with the Kui clan. Kui Jing left with the servant girl. An old man in the dark silently watched this scene. When Kui Jing was far away, he shook his head and sighed. On this day, news spread that the Kui clan's young miss, Kui Jing, had deliberately revealed the clan's secrets, causing great losses to the clan. Therefore, she had been expelled. This news only caused a stir in the Wuluor Starfield. It wasn't enough to affect the entire Saint Spirit realm. The current Saint Spirit realm was once again discussing Zi Chen. There were also rumors about Zi Chen's past life and legendary life. Zi Chen's reputation had undoubtedly grown, to the point where even the saint sovereigns had to pay attention to him. At the same time, the biggest secret of the saint spirit realm was revealed right after the conscription order was issued. The ancient saint spirits from countless years ago were gradually awakening. Those who were related to the ancients were naturally experts. This made many forces think of Bai Yu, an existence with unparalleled battle prowess after his appearance. He was even able to fight against the publicly acknowledged number one expert, Zi Chen. His powerful battle prowess far surpassed those of the same level. Before his battle with Zi Chen, he had never lost a single battle. Therefore, many of the big families started to think of ways to recruit the awakened Empyrean saint spirits into their camp and strengthen their own forces. Speaking of which, this Zi Chen really isn't an ordinary person. He's been extremely powerful since a long time ago. It's said that he's always been able to fight above his level. Now, not only is he the number one holy spirit in the saint spirit realm, he can even summon ancient holy spirits. Speaking of which, I'm really envious of the Holy Thunder clan. First, there's the number one saint sovereign, Lei Zhengke. Now, there's Zi Chen. Once Zi Chen becomes a saint sovereign, the Holy Thunder clan will definitely become the number one force. Exactly. If they're allowed to develop and recruit a group of ancient experts, I think the Holy Thunder clan will become the number one force in the saint spirit realm in the future. The rumors about Zi Chen had long since disappeared. Such discussions were often heard in taverns of all sizes. A man at a neighboring table listened to the discussions around him silently and drank cup after cup of wine. His expression changed and he hesitated. In the end, he put down his wine cup heavily and walked in front of those people. A tower-like existence appeared beside him, and a shadow appeared, blocking his line of sight. The people who were chatting excitedly were stunned and looked at the strong man. "Let me ask you," said the strong man. "Who exactly is this Zi Chen you're talking about?" Asked the strong man. "Tell me everything about Zi Chen in detail." "I say, old man, you're not joking, are you? Who in the saint spirit realm doesn't know about the Holy Thunder clan's Zi Chen?" The man looked at the strong man in astonishment. "If I tell you to tell me, then just tell me. Waiter, bring them a few more jugs of wine. I'll pay for the drinks at their table." The strong man glanced back at the counter. "Okay." In another direction, a waiter answered with a smile. The people tactfully made room for the strong man. After the waiter brought the wine over, the strong man said, "Today's wine is enough. Tell me everything you know about Zi Chen." When they saw the wine, their eyes lit up. Then they began to talk about Zi Chen. In any case, it was just hearsay. They had never actually met Zi Chen, so it was fine to talk about some random things that went with the wine. Some of the other customers in the area left silently, but before they left, they all glanced at the burly man. After drinking 4 or 5 jugs of wine, the strong man was certain that the Zi Chen of this world was the famous Zi Chen of the past. Since he was the one who had issued the conscription order, then he had to go take a look. After paying the bill, the strong man left the tavern and headed in the direction of the Holy Thunder clan. Unexpectedly, as soon as he left the city, he saw someone standing in front of him. He smiled and clasped his hands. "I'm Liu Mu, a member of the Liu clan. I hope you can come to my clan for a chat." "I'm not free," said the strong man indifferently. The smile on Liu Mu's face didn't diminish. "Going to the Liu clan for a chat won't hurt you at all. You might even get some good fortune. Why not?" Coldness flashed in the strong man's eyes. "Do you not understand what I'm saying? Or is it to say that your purpose of appearing here is purely to seek death?" The smile on Liu Mu's face gradually disappeared. The strong man coldly said, "Tell those 9 stars to scram. If I want to kill someone, 1 punch is enough. Also, if you rely on the fact that you have a holy sage behind you, then hurry up and kill me. If you let me escape today, I'll definitely massacre your clan." This brother has misunderstood. "We came here this time with the intention of making friends with Your Excellency. We didn't expect to make Your Excellency unhappy because of this. This is a map of the Saint Spirit world. Consider it my apology. Liu Mu took out a jade slip. The jade slip flew forward. The strong man took the jade slip and scanned it with his soul power. There was no tampering. He looked at Liu Mu and said, "Let me give you a word of advice. Cultivate more and don't cause trouble. You have no idea what we went through back then, so all of you should put away your little thoughts." With that, the strong man flew into the air and left this world. After the strong man left, a figure of light appeared. Liu Mu immediately bowed to the figure of light. The 9-star holy spirits hidden in the surroundings also appeared one by one and bowed to the figure of light. "Ancestor, you really can't make him stay?" asked Liu Mu. "Perhaps." The holy sage figure of light said, "But if you can't, then the future of the Liu clan will be hard to say." Clearly, this person was a holy sage when he was alive. After waking up, although he was only an 8-star holy sage, it was only a matter of time before he could advance. For safety's sake, he didn't make a move. The strong man took the map and went to the Holy Thunder clan. Then, he took a teleportation and entered the Tianwu continent. Chapter 42-44. "What is your name?" Baiyu asked with a smile as he looked at the burly man. As soon as he arrived, he said that he wanted to see Zichen, so Baiyu appeared. The burly man looked at Baiyu. "You are Zichen?" he asked. He had never seen the real Zichen, but had heard of the saint's name. "I am Baiyu," said Baiyu. "I am in charge of all the people recruited." "What is your name?" "I am looking for Zichen," said the burly man. "I have an important matter to discuss with him. He is the only one I know." Baiyu looked at the burly man, and the burly man looked at Baiyu. Neither of them spoke. "Fine." In the end, Baiyu nodded and led him to Zichen. When Zichen saw the burly man, he asked, "You specifically asked to see me. Is there something you need?" "You are Zichen?" asked the burly man. Zichen nodded. "Perhaps I am not the Zichen you think I am, but my name is Zichen." The burly man immediately clasped his hands. "My name is Wei Tuo. Your Excellency, I hope you can help me rescue my friends." "What friends?" Before Zichen could ask, Baiyu spoke first. Wei Tuo glanced at Baiyu. "This is Baiyu," Zichen explained. "He's a trustworthy friend. He's the one in charge of this recruitment." Wei Tuo explained what had happened. It turned out that he and a few of his brothers had died in a killing formation. However, their souls had not been completely destroyed, so as time passed, they were reborn. However, the killing formation did not disappear. After they woke up, it was activated. After a difficult battle, he was the only one to escape. The others remained in the formation. "I don't know if they can hold on," said Wei Tuo anxiously. "Your Excellency, please hurry up and rescue them." "How many of you are there?" asked Zichen. "There are 4 more. Back then, the 5 of us brothers went through fire and water together, reaching the Holy Venerate realm at the same time. However, that was a post-war era. Although we did not fight alongside Milord, we have heard of Milord's countless glorious deeds." Wei Tuo's gaze did not seem to be fake, so Zichen trusted him very much. It was just a formation that could kill 5 Saint Venerables, so what was the point of him going there? Baiyu was also frowning. This matter was indeed troublesome. "You guys wait here. I'm going to ask the Lord for help. I'll be back soon." Zichen stood up and was about to go look for backup. "It's useless. There are restrictions in that place. The Lord can't even get close." Wei Tuo shook his head and said, "If Sacred Sovereign can help me, then there are Sacred Sovereigns among the forces that tried to recruit me along the way. I'm sure that as long as I ask, they will help us." However, that place was very strange. It seemed to be protected by some kind of rules, which strongly repelled holy sages and prevented them from entering. Once a Saint Venerable gets close, that place will disappear into thin air. The next time it appears, no one knows where it is. Zichen looked at Baiyu and was a bit puzzled. Why would such a place exist? It should be the natural protection formed by the natural law of heaven and earth. Without this layer of protection, the holy sages could go wherever they wanted. If only one holy sages of the demon clan came, the others would have no hope of reviving, right? Bai Yu explained, it's like some kind of heavenly treasure. Naturally, there are rules to protect it. This explanation was reasonable, but Zichen had a new question. Many demons died in the war back then. Could there be some kind of power protecting them? Bai Yu said, the rules of heaven and earth do not recognize people. Besides, there are demons living in the spirit world right now, right? They are also cultivating, so they are not being repelled by heaven and earth. Wei Tuo stood to the side, obviously restless. He didn't dare to stop along the way. Zichen pondered for a moment and said, you stay here. Wei Tuo and I will go and take a look. Bai Yu stood. It's best if the two of us go. There might be other people coming. If they are like Wei Tuo and only recognize you, then it will be troublesome. Are you confident? Asked Zichen. As long as I bring a few more saint talismans and other powerful items, it shouldn't be a problem to randomly attack that killing formation. Of course, you'll have to pay for it. Zichen took out a core medallion and tossed it to Bai Yu. If you need any resources, use it to get them. Also, if you encounter any danger, you can use it to send a message. As long as there are people from the Holy Thunder Clan, there will be people to help you send a message. Bai Yu received the medallion and turned to leave. Before leaving, Wei Tuo cupped his fists toward Zichen. During this time, Bai Yu had set up a special reception area. Anyone who came to the Martial Heaven continent and asked to see Zichen would be personally invited. As for Wei Tuo, he was the first ancient saint spirit to come to see Zichen. But this was definitely a good start. He trusted that more and more people would come to the Martial Heaven continent. After Bai Yu left, Zichen ordered that if anyone came to see him, they could directly notify him. In just 3 days, someone really did come. It was a 9-star saint spirit, just a step away from becoming a holy sovereign. He was an awakened ancient saint spirit. To him, there were no bottlenecks on his cultivation path. As long as the conditions were right, he could advance to become a holy sovereign. Zichen personally went to see him. When he saw Zichen, he was extremely excited. Back then, he had seen Zichen from a distance. That was why he had a deep impression of him. His name was Xiao Xinyuan, and he was very talkative. He told Zichen quite a bit about what had happened afterwards, as well as all kinds of bitter battles. According to him, during that chaotic era, the saint spirits were in constant danger. Even a holy sovereign would be on edge if they went out alone. Zichen arranged a place for him to stay. At the same time, he told him about Bai Yu and Wei Tuo. He also told him about their mission. Now, all he had to do was wait for news. In the next few days, no one else came. Perhaps they hadn't received any news, or perhaps they were just carefully observing. During this time, Bai Yu sent back news that he had found that place. It was truly a dangerous formation. It was somewhat troublesome, but no one was controlling it. He believed that he could smoothly break it and save the people inside. After receiving the news, Zichen was relieved. Recently, he had been cultivating and was very busy. He needed to improve the battle god art. He also needed to comprehend the sword art that Lei Yutian had given him. There was also that black piece of armor. With all these things added together, Zichen didn't even have time to eat noodles. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. On this day, a piece of news reached Zichen's Martial Heaven continent. Chapter 42-45. After Zichen received the message, he was very surprised. Last time, Bai Yu sent a message saying that the problem was not big. Now he was trapped. What happened? After seeing the message, Zichen was about to set off immediately. At this moment, Xiao Xinyuan appeared. He looked at Zichen, whose face was a little pale, and asked, "What happened?" "Something happened to Bai Yu and the others." "I have to go and take a look," Zichen said. "Count me in," Xiao Xinyuan said immediately. Zichen shook his head and said, "No, I'll go and take a look alone." Xiao Xinyuan insisted, "What if something happened to you too? Take me with you." "No matter what, I'm still a 9-star holy spirit. My combat power is far beyond my peers. No one knows what the future will be like. If we don't team up now, when will we?" Zichen nodded and said, "In that case, let's go." Chen waved his hand and shot out a beam of energy. This light enveloped Xiao Xinyuan. The next moment, the two of them disappeared. Coming to the void, Xiao Xinyuan asked, "Where should we go?" Chen took out the spirit core and began to look for the coordinates according to the directions he had memorized. There was no direct route, but there were some nearby ones. There were many coordinates on it. It was obvious how many places Han Nu had traveled during this time. The next moment, Chen activated the spirit core. A teleportation flower opened in the void, and Chen stepped into it. This is a spirit core. Seeing the void flower, Xiao Xinyuan was shocked. At this moment, the void flower healed, turned into a spirit core, and disappeared. At the same time, Chen and Xiao Xinyuan also disappeared. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The Franstar Zone was an unknown small place. Its leader was only a one-star Holy Spirit. Although this place was quite lively, it could only attract some low-level existences. Holy spirits rarely came to this place. But recently, this place had become extremely lively because not long ago, a relic was discovered in an even more remote place outside of this star field. At that time, the people who opened these relics had suffered great casualties, but they also gained a lot. During this period of time, there were constantly holy spirits coming to this place in search of opportunities. It was said that in that relic, there were even resurrected people. Chen and Xiao Xinyuan arrived at the star domain. At the moment, Xiao Xinyuan was in a daze, not knowing where he was. But he had seen what Chen had just displayed. He said in shock, "Is that the legendary spirit core?" Xiao Xinyuan asked again, very shocked. As expected of someone who had once been a holy venerate. Even though his cultivation had not recovered, his eyesight was still there. Chen, who had answered him in the void earlier, nodded and headed down towards the star domain below. Let's speed up. After arriving at this star field and hearing the discussions around him, Xiao Xinyuan was even more shocked. They had actually come directly to an area not far from their destination. Chen found the Holy Thunder Clan member in charge of this place. He was a one-star Holy Spirit. Originally, this place was not big enough to send a Holy Spirit, but recently it had become too lively, so the higher-ups had arranged for a one-star Holy Spirit to come here in advance to collect all kinds of information. But this was only temporary. Once the liveliness subsided, the Holy Spirit would withdraw. After seeing Chen, the Holy Spirit bowed. Chen waved his hand and said, "No need for so much etiquette. How are my people?" "Sir," after entering the demonic relic, there was no news, the Holy Spirit replied respectfully. Although he did not know who this person was, he should be an important figure in the Holy Thunder Clan. "Demonic relic?" Chen asked. "Why is it called that?" "Because there is a demonic aura inside. When we first entered, many people died, so those who came later called that place the demonic relic," the one-star Holy Spirit replied. Chen nodded and said, "Take me there to have a look." "Sir, please follow me." The Holy Spirit led Chen and Xiao Xinyuan out of this star field and towards the demonic relic. Along the way, they saw many existences who came here to look for opportunities. They could also see holy spirits from time to time, but their realms were not high. The highest they saw so far was only a 4-star Holy Spirit. The appearance of Chen's group did not attract too much attention. Only the 4-star Holy Spirit they met along the way used his soul power to sense the realms of the three. After seeing only one of them, his expression changed, as if he did not know the truth, so he did not come forward to cause trouble. The entrance to the demonic relic was on a small planet. According to the information, there was nothing here before, but this small planet suddenly appeared. Someone tried to enter and found the entrance to the demonic relic. Xiao Xinyuan said, "This is not strange. The place I came from is also a small planet. Before I fell asleep, the planet was hidden, and I have been absorbing the power of the planet naturally. It was not until my consciousness gradually woke up that the planet appeared in this world." Chen asked, "Is it really that magical?" Xiao Xinyuan smiled and said, "It's not magical. It's the natural self-protection of the laws of heaven and earth. Once the resurrected leave, the planet will collapse, so before we leave, we will almost always take away the last bit of power in the planet. The one-star Holy Spirit listened silently, but the content was so shocking that he could not pretend to be calm at all. This unknown existence was obviously a resurrected one, which was the most popular ancient Holy Spirit. Then, what about the other ancient Holy Spirit? He looked at the other person. He was so young, but he could talk and laugh with a resurrected. This made a name appear in his mind, and his expression immediately changed. Zichen saw the change in the one-star Holy Spirit's expression, but he did not explain too much. At this time, the planet came into view. After entering the planet, Zichen found that there were even more people here, and there were many buildings outside the ruins. Many people had set up stalls there to do business and sell all kinds of things. The one-star Holy Spirit explained, some of the merchants here came from the ruins. Because they can't use the spoils they obtained, they sell them on the spot. However, this is only a small portion. Most of them are outsiders. Under the guise of selling the spoils of the ruins, who knows where they obtained the items from? Neither Zichen nor Xiao Xinyuan had any interest in the things here. Outside the ruins, Zichen looked at a certain place. There was a wisp of aura there, left behind by Baiyu. Zichen smiled. It seemed that Baiyu was quite careful before going in. The three of them entered the ruins. As soon as they entered, Zichen felt the aura of the demon race, which was very strong and rich. In addition, he also felt the aura left behind by Baiyu, and there was more than one. Those auras were like bright lamps, appearing in Zichen's field of vision and extending into the distance. Chapter 42-46. Baiyu made one mark after another on the road ahead. Clearly, it was to prepare for any eventuality. Now, with these marks, Zichen no longer needed to lead the way. Moreover, even an existence like Baiyu had been trapped, let alone a one-star Holy Spirit. The other party accepted the order and left, feeling a little excited. To be able to travel with the legendary Zichen for a while, this would definitely be a great topic of conversation for the rest of his life. Who left behind those auras? After the one-star Holy Spirit left, Xiao Xinyuan, who had also sensed those auras, asked. It's Baiyu. Zichen walked forward, spreading his soul power all around, probing for any possible dangers. There was no danger along the way, only the auras left behind by Baiyu. Even the other Holy Spirits who had come to explore this place were rarely seen. In the end, there was not a single person. The demonic qi along the way became even stronger, and Xiao Xinyuan clearly felt uncomfortable. After so many years, there's still such a dense demonic qi. The killing formation of the demon race here should be very unusual. Zichen nodded slightly. It was better to be careful. The next step was a little more difficult. The pressure of the demonic qi between heaven and earth became even stronger. Ordinary Holy Spirits would have to stop here. If they continued forward, they might be invaded by a tacit understanding, affecting their consciousness and possibly causing them to hallucinate. For Wei Tuo to be able to kill his way out of this place, he himself had extraordinary strength. After walking for about 2 hours, Zichen finally saw Wei Tuo. He was sitting cross-legged, constantly sending energy into the sky. In the sky, there was a large black and white net, and Baiyu was in the net. The movement behind him attracted Wei Tuo's attention. He looked back warily, and when he saw Zichen walking in front, he was stunned. So fast. Baiyu, who seemed to be sleeping with his eyes closed, also woke up at this moment. When he saw Zichen and Xiao Xinyuan, he said excitedly, "Zichen, save me." Suddenly, his expression changed because he realized the problem. He asked warily, "Why are you here so fast? Isn't it a little too early? How long had it been since they sent the news back? How long did it take to get here?" Even if he used some of the Holy Thunder Clan's secret trump cards, it shouldn't have been this fast. Faced with Baiyu's vigilant question, Zichen said, "What are you talking about? Didn't I tell you to be careful? How did you fall?" Then he looked at Wei Tuo. "What's going on? By the way, this is Xiao Xinyuan. You guys left a few days ago, and is currently in the 9-star realm." Wei Tuo nodded at Xiao Xinyuan. Baiyu moved slightly, then let out a pained howl. This thing is like a knife. If I hadn't used my power to maintain it, it would have cut me into countless pieces. My name is Bai Yu, so I won't bother with formalities here. Xiao Xinyuan saluted Bai Yu from afar. No need. Zichen frowned as he looked at the big net. There was a strong devil aura coming from it. As long as you don't touch it, it won't be a problem. Based on my cooperation with Wei Tuo, we should be able to hold on for a while, said Bai Yu. Where are your friends? Asked Zichen. They should be behind this killing formation. This killing formation seems to be slowly growing, and its power is even greater than before. Wei Tuo said with a bit of worry. I'm afraid it will grow to its previous level of subversive power. When that time comes, no one will be able to survive. Wei Tuo, you're not being honest. That's not what you said earlier. What? Now you want Zichen to give up on saving me? Bai Yu shouted in dissatisfaction. Wei Tuo couldn't be bothered with him. He began to tell Zichen everything that had happened. As it turned out, after arriving here, Bai Yu had only briefly investigated the area before he began to bombard the Grand Formation. The results were excellent, but just as he was about to break through the Grand Formation, a sudden change occurred. A large net that had been triggered somehow fell from the sky and enveloped Bai Yu. Because Wei Tuo hadn't done anything, he had discovered it ahead of time and fled quickly. Otherwise, the two of them would have been trapped here with no one to send a message to. Zichen looked at the trapped Bai Yu. In other words, not only did you waste a lot of good things, you didn't even do anything. You even threw yourself in. Zichen's eyes began to shine. This was the Lightning Clan's eye technique. He wanted to see if there were any abnormalities. He could only see strands of power, arranged in a very strange way. They were like tangled lines, and it was extremely difficult to find the key point. In addition, there were even more power, densely packed together. Zichen's first impression was that it was extremely difficult to break through. Seeing the light in Zichen's eyes that had yet to fade, and his expression that was growing more and more serious, Bai Yu nervously asked, "How is it? Can you say something? Don't scare me." The light in Zichen's eyes faded. "I can't see clearly. I don't have a clue." Bai Yu's expression changed. "Don't tell me you're going to retreat. Zichen, you have to think carefully. This time, I came to do what you told me to do." Noisy. Zichen's eyes flashed again. This time, it was a black light. He used the eye of the demon god. After using the eye of the demon god, Zichen's vision became clearer. All the lines appeared clearly. All the combined formations seemed to be magnified countless times. They were displayed in front of Zichen's eyes. There was a formation within a formation, and killing intent rose and fell. Bai Yu had only triggered the outermost layer. If the entire formation was triggered, he would definitely die. Moreover, he could clearly see that a part of the formation had been damaged. It was no longer in its peak state. "How is it?" Seeing Zichen fall silent again, Bai Yu asked worriedly. Wei Tuo and Xiao Xinyuan also looked at Zichen nervously. At the very least, the two of them had no way to break through. If they attacked forcefully, they were afraid that they would trigger the formation and put Bai Yu in a situation of death. The light in Zichen's eyes faded. "It's not a big problem," he said calmly. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. Bai Yu still asked nervously, "Is that true?" A light flashed in Zichen's hand, and a spear appeared. It was the weapon he brought out of the Holy Talisman realm. His figure flashed and he flew forward. Wei Tuo shouted, "Wait, there," but before he could finish speaking, countless rays of light appeared in front of him. Those rays of light were like sharp blades, cutting towards Zichen. However, Zichen seemed to have known that they would appear. He changed his direction in advance. Like a fish in water, he easily avoided the attacks. In almost an instant, Zichen closed in on Bai Yu. Spear. A light flashed. Chapter 42-47. It was as if Zichen could predict the future. Not only did he dodge all the attacks, but he also easily saved Bai Yu. This caused the two spectators to be stunned, and they didn't dare believe their eyes. Zichen actually acted so casually. At this moment, something strange happened. In the sky, ripples surged, and an even larger restriction net appeared. Boundless murderous intent surged out, and a sharp aura filled every inch of the space. Bai Yu's body clearly trembled. At this moment, he, who was in midair, felt as if countless sharp blades had appeared from all directions. These sharp blades could not be seen or touched, but they were real and were affecting his soul. Zi-Chen's eyes lit up again. After using the demon god's eye, Zi-Chen found that this formation, which had killed several Saint Venerables, was activated on its own. All the formations, big and small, were like a sophisticated machine, slowly operating. When Wei Tuo saw this, he wanted to go forward and help, but Zi-Chen said in a deep voice, "Don't come over." Now that he could use the demon god's eye to see the operation of the formation, he naturally had a way to resist it. However, if Wei Tuo came, he not only had to protect Bai Yu, but also take care of Wei Tuo. He was bound to be distracted. Wei Tuo was stunned, but he immediately stopped and didn't dare to continue forward. Xiao Xinyuan, who was beside him, was also very nervous. Zi-Chen shook the long spear in his hand and threw it toward the sky. As a ray of light flashed, the restriction net above them shattered. Buzz! Ripples surged, and danger appeared on both sides. Hundreds of black sword lights appeared from the void. The sword lights were like lightning, heading straight for the two of them. Looking at these real sword lights, Zi-Chen shouted, "Be careful. Find a chance to retreat." He turned around and stood with his back to Bai Yu. A black shield appeared in his left hand, blocking in front of him. The black light on the shield bloomed, forming a powerful protection. All the sword lights touched the black light on the surface of the light shield, causing ripples before disappearing. Behind Zi-Chen, Bai Yu had also easily neutralized those attacks. However, before he could escape, another change occurred in the world. Be careful. Try to stay alive. In Zi-Chen's eyes, this was only the beginning. The array had not even displayed half of its power. At the same time, he rejoiced that he'd obtained the eye of the demon god when he made a trip to the devil world. Otherwise, he would be flustered right now. A mirror appeared in the sky, and the two figures were reflected in the mirror. In an instant, the two of them felt their bodies sink, as if there was a heavy demonic mountain on their backs. Ripples appeared in the void beneath their feet, and a black sphere appeared. It bloomed like a flower bud, like a black demonic lotus. The blooming demonic lotuses continued to grow, heading towards the sky, wanting to envelop the two of them. "Not good, my power is being suppressed," Bai Yu shouted. At this moment, the energy flowing around his body was rapidly fading. The demon mirror in the sky was devouring his energy, and at the same time, it was creating a powerful pushing force that was trying to push him towards the demon lotus. Seeing this, Xiao Xinyuan immediately shot out a beam of energy, wanting to stop the demon lotus from rising. However, before his energy could get close, the demon lotus released several chains of light, obliterating Xiao Xinyuan's energy. Wei Tuo glanced at Xiao Xinyuan. If he acted rashly, he might trigger an even more powerful array. Zi-Chen's eyes flickered. The demon eye could clearly see the flaw in the array. He tapped his foot, and his figure swept through the air, heading straight for the center of the demon mirror. Crack! Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the demon mirror, and then it exploded. The pressure that fell on the two of them immediately dissipated. Bai Yu, who was about to be devoured, immediately soared into the sky. As soon as the demon mirror disappeared, a demonic palm descended from the sky, emitting a terrifying aura. "Are you done yet?" Bai Yu shouted. He struck a palm towards the sky, and a surge of spiritual energy condensed in his palm. With a loud bang, Bai Yu's palm collapsed, and his body fell down. Although his combat strength was not weak, compared to a large array, it was still quite a bit weaker. Bai Yu, who was falling uncontrollably, was so frightened that he screamed. This was because the demon lotus was below. Beside the demon lotus, Zi-Chen pulled out the spear that pierced into the core, and the demon lotus dissipated in the sky. Then, Zi-Chen grabbed Bai Yu and stabilized his body. After Bai Yu stabilized himself, he let out a big sigh of relief. That was close. Zi-Chen looked up at the sky and said, "The danger is yet to come. This is just the beginning." "What?" Bai Yu's expression changed again. He looked around. The space around him was like boiling water, constantly rippling. An intense pressure of the demon race swept out. Zi Chen's eyes flickered. At the same time, he said, "Follow my steps. Don't make a single mistake." As soon as his voice fell, Zi Chen's pupils shrank, and he took a step forward. Bai Yu, who was standing beside Zi Chen, also took a step forward with Zi Chen. Kai. At the place where Bai Yu had been standing, a black crack appeared in the space. It was more than 30 meters long. Even space can be torn apart. Bai Yu sucked in a breath of cold air. If it wasn't for Zi Chen's warning, he would have been split in two. Go. Zi Chen's voice sounded again, and his figure dodged again. Without a sound, the space was torn apart again. Wei Tuo stood outside the restriction, looking at Zi Chen walking in the air with an indescribable expression of shock. He couldn't sense anything. Inside the formation space, the space would silently be torn apart, and Zi Chen would always be able to avoid it in advance. It could even be said that Zi Chen was always able to detect the abnormality one step ahead of time and evade it. Those terrifying cracks were always one step too late. As expected of Lord Zi Chen, Wei Tuo sighed. Xiao Xinyuan also nodded, agreeing with this statement. In this situation, only Zi Chen could resolve it so easily. If it were them, they would have died many times over. More and more cracks appeared in the surroundings, but Zi Chen was still able to dodge them easily. At this moment, the array changed again. Suddenly, countless black rays of light appeared between heaven and earth. These were all sword lights, surging with sharp sword aura. They were everywhere, densely packed and innumerable. There was no way to dodge. This was a situation of certain death. Bai Yu's face instantly turned pale. The expressions of the two people outside the array also changed greatly. Buzz. Countless sword lights trembled, and then moved forward together. There was nowhere to dodge. No matter which direction he ran in, he would be pierced by the sword lights into a sieve. At this moment, Bai Yu's eyes lit up. He saw an opening, which should be caused by the array being broken. Before he could do anything, Zi Chen's cold voice sounded. "Don't move. Stay where you are and don't move." Chapter 42-48. In an instant, Bai Yu's eyes widened. He truly felt as if 10,000 arrows had pierced through his heart. Am I going to die again? He stared blankly at the void, his eyes full of unwillingness. It was because he trusted Zi Chen too much that he was half a beat slower. Otherwise, he might have been able to survive. At this moment, what was completely different from Bai Yu's perspective was that Xiao Xinyuan and Wei Tuo saw with their own eyes that the sword light pierced through their bodies, but it was just an illusion. The real killing move was around the two of them. Countless cracks appeared in the entire space. Other than the place where the two of them were standing, there were killing moves everywhere. If they moved, they would die. Obviously, Zi Chen had seen through this. That was why Bai Yu remained motionless. The moment the sword light pierced through his body and the cracks disappeared, he shot straight into the sky like a stream of light. The spear pierced the void, and waves of ripples surged out. The entire formation was revealed. This time, the attack landed at the eye of the formation. It was as if it had hit a vital point. The grand formation that appeared began to crumble. Bai Yu, who was still regretting, only came back to his senses when he heard the commotion. He stood there in a daze, not knowing what had happened. The formation shattered, and the scene ahead appeared. There were 4 people sitting back to back, holding up a defense at the same time. "Brothers!" Wei Tuo cried out excitedly. The 4 of them heard the commotion and looked up to see Zi Chen and the others. Their almost numb eyes lit up a little. Wei Tuo immediately went down to the light shield and said excitedly, "I'm here. I found Lord Zi Chen. He saved you." Bai Yu, who came back to his senses, straightened his clothes and said, "How can you say that? Don't you still have me?" Xiao Xinyuan smiled and said, "You did help, but it was just more of a hindrance." The 4 of them removed their protection and stood up. Every one of them had a look of relief on their weak faces after surviving a calamity. Zi Chen came closer and smiled at them. They were all safe and sound. That was very good. The Empyrean Saint Spirits group had grown a little stronger. Wei Tuo said, "This is His Excellency Zi Chen. Don't be surprised, This is the same His Excellency Zi Chen from back then. Wei Tuo turned around and said, Your Excellency, these are the 4 brothers I was talking about. In the past, we risked our lives to become heavenly sovereigns. The 4 of them were shocked. They never thought that they would be able to see Lord Zi Chen again after coming back to life. The 4 immediately stepped forward. One of them clasped his hands and said, Greetings, Lord Zi Chen. I am Liu Fan's hen. The other 3 also cupped their fists and bowed. Their expressions were unusually excited. Zi Chen immediately stepped forward and said, There's no need to be so polite. From now on, we're all on the same side. He made a gesture to help the 4 of them up. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The 9-star saint spirit named Liu Fan's hen suddenly had a murderous look in his eyes. A weapon appeared in his hand as he thrust it towards Zi Chen's chest. Zi Chen, watch out! Xiao Xinyuan cried out in alarm and pushed Zi Chen away. The weapon that was supposed to pierce Zi Chen's body instead pierced into Xiao Xinyuan's body. Although Zi Chen was pushed away, he was not out of danger. Because in an instant, the other 3 people also made their moves. No one came first. Puff, puff, puff. 3 sharp blades pierced into Zi Chen's chest, abdomen, and neck, one after another. Such a turn of events made them completely dumbfounded. Wei Tuo was stunned on the spot, as if he had been struck dumb. Baiyu was also stunned. Even before the smile on his face disappeared, the joy of reuniting with each other turned into a cold, murderous look. Boom! A powerful aura erupted from Zi Chen's body, and a tyrannical force shook the surroundings. The 3 of them were all sent flying backwards. The weapon was still stuck in Zi Chen's body. On the weapon, there was residual power surging, destroying Zi Chen's vitality. Zi Chen's body swayed, and he almost fell. He looked coldly at the 4 people in front of him. What's going on? Wei Tuo finally reacted, and looked at the 4 people in disbelief. His Zi Chen, Lord Zi Chen. He's the one who saved you. Liu Fan's hen sneered. The one we killed was him. Zi Chen, how are you? Baiyu asked Zi Chen, who had already walked up to the pale-faced Xiao Xinyuan and helped him up. Zi Chen slowly shook his head and said, I won't die for the time being. As his voice fell, Zi Chen's figure disappeared. As if he had teleported, he appeared in front of Liu Fan's hen, and the demonic blade in his hand slashed forward. At the same time, a light flashed in his eyes. The blade slashed down. It was a very ordinary blade, but the demon god's eye wasn't ordinary. Liu Fanshen's head flew high into the air, and a powerful soul power entered his mind, destroying his soul. Zi Chen didn't hold back, and he didn't dare to hold back. In this situation, he didn't even give them a chance to explain. He had to end this quickly. He used his body movement to the extreme, and he was like a ghost teleporting. At this moment, Zi Chen temporarily suppressed his injuries, and then burst out with his most powerful killing power. Puff, puff, puff. Without giving the other 3 a chance to react, Zi Chen chopped off 3 more heads. The 4 heads fell to the ground, and they couldn't be more dead. As for whether they could come back to life this time, that was another matter altogether. Zi Chen's figure appeared, and he began coughing up blood. The 3 weapons were still in his body. It wasn't that he didn't want to take them out, but that he didn't dare. These 3 weapons were all specially made to target him. The power of extermination in them was very terrifying. Once it was forcibly extracted from the body by the weapons, it would also take away a part of his vitality. After killing the 4 people, Zi Chen immediately swallowed a medicinal pill, and then he glanced at Xiao Xinyuan, who had just blocked a blow for him. The other party wasn't much better than him. He walked towards the other party, and at the same time, another medicinal pill appeared in his hand. Let me do it. You heal first. Seeing this, Baiyu immediately got up and walked towards Zi Chen. No need. I can still hold on. Zi Chen rejected Baiyu's kindness and walked towards Xiao Xinyuan. After coming close, Zi Chen sat down and handed the high-quality medicinal pill to Xiao Xinyuan. Thank you. I got this medicinal pill from a sacred relic. It should be able to heal your injuries. Take it first. Zi Chen looked at Xiao Xinyuan, who was pale and even weaker than himself, and said. Xiao Xinyuan smiled, But he was even weaker. He slowly reached out his hand, wanting to grab the medicinal pill. However, his hand slipped, and he couldn't grab it. Zichen's body subconsciously leaned forward. Xiao Xinyuan's other hand suddenly landed on Zichen's head like lightning, and clasped it tightly. His originally weak eyes turned ice-cold. Die. Chapter 42-49. Baiyu was dumbfounded. Wei Tuo stood there, not knowing what to do. What was going on? Why did he always attack so suddenly, catching everyone off guard? What had Zichen encountered? Why was he constantly being ambushed? Why was it fatal every time? Die. Xiao Xinyuan's expression became ferocious. The original weak aura was no longer there. The surging power of the 9 stars madly entered Zichen's body. A part of it destroyed his vitality, and a part of it entered his sea of consciousness, destroying his soul. The power that entered Zichen's sea of consciousness was like a storm in the sea, causing a huge commotion. However, Zichen's soul was like a real sea. When the power entered, it could only cause waves. It was impossible to drown this sea. Zichen's face immediately turned pale, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He was not shocked or surprised. Instead, he grinned. Xiao Xinyuan looked at Zichen in shock. His crazy eyes gradually became filled with disbelief. Pu. A black blade pierced Xiao Xinyuan's chest. Then, with a ruthless twist, his internal organs were completely shattered. This was not fatal. What was fatal was the power that destroyed his vitality. Xiao Xinyuan subconsciously took a few steps back. His eyes were fixed on Zichen. "How are you?" Baiyu shouted and walked towards Zichen. However, he suddenly stopped after taking 2 steps. Under such circumstances, if he rashly approached Zichen, he might be stabbed. Surprised, Zichen looked at Xiao Xinyuan with a sneer in his eyes. "Impossible. This is impossible," Xiao Xinyuan said in disbelief. "How could you have guessed that I was going to attack?" Zichen laughed mockingly. "You were a saint back then. When others are breaking the formation, don't you understand the principle of being a good spectator? You seemed to have attacked subconsciously, but you weren't helping me, you were harming me." Wei Tuo, who was standing there like a fool, suddenly remembered the previous scene. At that time, he had glanced at Xiao Xinyuan. Xiao Xinyuan said, "Just because of this, you suspect me?" Zichen said, "Of course not. It's because of this." Zichen pointed at the 3 weapons that still pierced his body. "Although you helped me block one of the attacks, the other 3 hit my vitals. Of course, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that those 3 weapons really wanted to take my life. Even now, I don't dare to pull them out. But you only suffered some superficial wounds. But your acting skills are not bad. You have a good grasp of the weak force. What a pity." Zichen sighed. He was indeed feeling pity for Xiao Xinyuan, but at the same time, he was rejoicing for himself. It was a pity that his soul power was extraordinary, and he had already sensed this situation. His target wasn't me, so why couldn't he just stop? Xiao Xinyuan asked, "Why are you so sure that I'm going to kill you?" Zichen said, "I'm not sure, so I'm here to give you a chance." This time, Zichen had sent the pills as a test. "Right now, I'm sure that you want to kill me." Zichen's eyes immediately turned cold. "I don't care what your reason is, or what your goal is. You can die now." As soon as Zichen finished speaking, a stream of soul power flew out of Zichen's sea of consciousness and entered Xiao Xinyuan's forehead. Xiao Xinyuan couldn't hold on any longer. His body collapsed. Dead. Phew. Baiyu let out a heavy breath. "You scared me to death. How are you? Are you okay?" Zichen didn't respond. He just collapsed to the ground. Baiyu was shocked. He immediately stepped forward to examine Zichen's injuries. Wei Tuo also stepped forward. Baiyu immediately shouted, "Don't come over. I can't trust you right now." Wei Tuo stood there, smiling bitterly. What was this? And even now, he still couldn't figure out why his 4 brothers would join forces to kill Zichen. They had always been together. He had never heard of any enmity between them and Lord Zichen. "Zichen, how are you?" "Don't scare me," Baiyu asked nervously. At this moment, Zichen's aura was very weak. He said weakly, "Don't talk nonsense. You two hurry up and escort me back to Thunder Di. He has a way to save me." 2. Baiyu was stunned. "Wei Tuo? It's okay. I believe in him," Zichen said weakly. At this moment, Wei Tuo was actually a little moved. His 4 brothers wanted to kill Zichen, but Zichen still believed in him. "Wei Tuo, you protect me. I'll take Zichen and leave." Baiyu wanted to carry Zichen, but he still had his weapon, so he could only carry Zichen. As soon as he carried him, a laugh rang out. "You want to leave just like that? Did you ask for my permission?" A man in black appeared out of thin air. He looked down at the 3 people below and smiled indifferently. "Demon." Baiyu's expression changed. He was all too familiar with this person's aura. Wei Tuo's expression also changed. He stared vigilantly at the other party. "You're planning to flee just like that?" the demon said with a smile. "Flee?" A beam of energy appeared, carrying Zichen behind him. Baiyu looked at the demon in front of him. "Why should we flee? We won't leave until we kill you." Baiyu and Wei Tuo were both at the 8-star realm, but the person in front of them was at the 9-star realm. However, the 2 of them were not afraid at all. If they joined forces, they could still kill the enemy. "Let's end this quickly to avoid new problems," Zichen, who had landed on the ground, reminded them. At this moment, he seemed to be in a very bad state. Baiyu and Wei Tuo's bodies began to circulate with energy. They had already entered battle mode. If the 2 of them joined forces, their chances of victory were very high. The 9-star demon snapped his fingers. "You're right," he said. "Let's end this quickly. There's no need to hide anything. The famous Zichen is enough for us to take seriously. If we can kill him today, we'll have done a great service to our race." "That's true. Once Zichen dies, the revived will be like a pack of dragons without a leader, and the spirit race's momentum will be lost." A cold voice sounded, and 3 more figures of light appeared. Including the one from before, there were 4 9-star demon spirits. The fact that they could appear here in such a large scale wasn't because the devil suppressing gate had been lost. Rather, it was because they were demons who had died in battle in the spirit realm. With the passing of time, they had been revived. Seeing the 3 of them, Baiyu's expression grew unsightly. At the same time, he cursed under his breath. "Damn it," he said. "We've only been revived for a few days, and now we're going to have to give up again." Wei Tuo said apologetically, "I've implicated you. It's too early to say whether or not you've implicated us. Perhaps this is a ploy to destroy the demon race by putting ourselves in danger." Chapter 4250. Upon hearing Zichen's confident voice, Baiyu and Wei Tuo's eyes lit up. Could this be another trick to lure them in? At this moment, their admiration for Zichen could no longer be described with words. It was worship. This was Lord Zichen, the Lord Zichen of the past. Even without his memories, he was still as powerful as ever. He had been schemed against so many times and had not died, and he had even managed to beat them at their own game. Truly amazing. Looking at Zichen, who had managed to stand up despite being stabbed several times, the few demon clan members were stunned for a moment before they burst out laughing. It was as if they had heard a very good joke. One of the demons laughed so hard that his back was bent, and tears were coming out of his eyes. "What kind of expression is that, you 2 idiots? Do you really believe he has the strength to resist?" The 2 of them were stunned. "Was that not the case? Do you know how much effort we've put in for this attack?" he asked. "First, we thought of a way to let one of you escape, then we took control of the other 4's souls and forcibly raised their cultivation by 1 realm. Not only that, but the weapons needed for the attack were also specially refined to kill the spirit race. The fact that he didn't die is already a miracle. In addition, we also had to conspire with the divine race. They sent Xiao Xinyuan to coordinate with us from the inside. Everything went according to plan. The only change was that you suddenly arrived, and we lost contact with the divine race. But everything was fine. Although Zichen didn't die, he wasn't far from death. This was the dragon bloodline, and the truth. This time, The assassination was not only carried out by the demons, but also by the divine race. It seemed that there were quite a few divine race members who had awakened, at least on a large scale, and they had done it quietly. Zichen had issued an edict, so these people knew about the Saint Zichen of the past. Naturally, they wanted to find a way to get rid of Zichen before he matured. That was why he had come up with this scheme. Wei Tuo knew the truth about why his brothers had suddenly attacked Zichen, and he was furious, his eyes filled with murderous intent. "Don't worry," said the demon. "You and your brothers will be reunited very soon." Then he looked at Zichen. "You've been listening to the story for so long. I've given you enough time. Why haven't you fallen?" Zichen smiled coldly and said, "Do you really not have anyone else? There's only one chance to scheme against me like this. Could it be that you're not the only ones? Call the others out and let me have a look. Consider it an eye-opener before I die." The four of them stopped laughing, because they couldn't laugh anymore. Zichen's performance was too calm, so calm that they couldn't tell if it was real or fake. Looking at the four people who had fallen silent, Zichen said, "Where are they? Come out, all of you." The surroundings were completely silent. Clearly, there was no one around, or it could be said that there was definitely no one coming out. It was clear that Zichen was very weak at the moment, and it was true weakness, the kind that was seriously injured, but he was so calm that it made people uneasy. They couldn't run away. Even if Zichen wasn't putting on an act, they still wouldn't run. "Fine," said Zichen. "Then the four of you will be fine. Consider it revenge for Wei Tuo's four brothers." As soon as he spoke, Zichen's body began to burn with flames. The art of recovery. It could stimulate one's potential in an instant and heal one's injuries. The flames enveloped Zichen's body, and the feeling of weakness began to recede. At the same time, the weapons that had been specifically targeted at Zichen began to melt under the flames. This was a unique kind of power, and the revival technique was currently destroying this power. Such an unforeseen event caused the faces of the four to fall. Zichen laughed coldly. "Since you've come, don't think of leaving." He flew forward, and at the same time, a black light shot out from his side. It was a ghost. "The two of you, take care of one each." As soon as Zichen spoke, he appeared in front of one of the demons. The spear in his hand swept out like a long staff, whistling through the air. The ghost took a deep breath, and one of the demon's souls began to sway. Next, the two sides began to engage in a tug-of-war of soul power. When Wei Tuo and Bai Yu saw this, they immediately charged forward, each taking on one of the demons. As long as they could delay Zichen for a moment, they would be able to obtain victory once he killed one of the demons. Today's encounter had been extremely dangerous. Thankfully, everything was progressing in their favor. Whoosh! The void trembled as Zichen drew a line in the air. A line of light shot forward, as if trying to split the void in half. The demons quickly retreated, using all kinds of defensive techniques to weaken Zichen's attack. Zichen's life force burned fiercely, and his injuries began to heal. At the same time, the three weapons that had lost their destructive power left Zichen's body on their own and fell to the ground. What had melted earlier was not the material of the weapons themselves, but the power within the weapons that specifically targeted the spirit race. The first to emerge victorious was not Zichen's side, but the ghost. This tug-of-war between the souls ended with the ghost successfully devouring them. The ghost smacked its lips, intoxicated. This soul was extraordinary, like a delicacy. Zichen's opponent was already injured. After the ghost entered the fray, the battle ended quickly. The ghost obtained a second soul. Then a third, and a fourth. 4 souls had been devoured by the ghost. As long as it could refine these 4 souls, the ghost's strength would increase significantly. After the battle ended, Bai Yu looked around cautiously. "Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else?" Zichen said, "Even if there is, they won't dare to come out. Clean up the battlefield, we should leave." Wei Tuo stood there, not knowing what to do. Zichen patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't feel pressured. This isn't your fault, and the person who controlled their souls is already dead. You've avenged them." Wei Tuo nodded and went to collect the corpses of his 4 brothers. At the very least, there would still be someone to collect their corpses. Back then, they didn't even have a single person to collect their corpses. Zichen looked around. There was only this killing formation here, and no other opportunities. As for the resources that the others had sought, they were just remnants of the battle from back then. Let's go. Zichen went back the way he had come. Although he had successfully resolved the ambush, he was still in a bad mood. This was because this time, not only were the demons targeting him, but the divine race as well. The last conscription order had only resulted in Wei Tuo being recruited, as well as 3 fatal ambushes. After this, Zichen began to feel a shadow in his heart. Should he trust those who had joined in later? After leaving this area and looking at the sky outside, Baiyu heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Those who survive a great disaster are destined for good fortune. Let's find a place to drink first." Chapter 4251. This was the world where Wei Tuo had been reborn. Now that Wei Tuo wanted to leave, it was not a problem for him to take away the power of this world. Wei Tuo rose into the air and began to draw out the power of this world. The world began to tremble as if there was a great earthquake. At the edge of the world, the ground began to collapse. The faces of the people who were still doing business below changed drastically. Someone exclaimed that the world was about to collapse and flew out of the world. Those businessmen hurriedly packed up their things and then joined the departing group. All kinds of buildings were refined, the kind that could be taken away at any time. In an instant, there were no people or buildings below. The people who were exploring and looking for opportunities also escaped in a sorry state and flew towards the sky. Wei Tuo had deliberately slowed down the refining speed in order to give everyone enough time to escape. Zichen and Baiyu stood at the side and watched silently. This was the first time Zichen saw a reborn refining his own world. It looked very easy. The power of this world has already been assimilated. It's almost the power of the reborn. You just need to take it away, Baiyu, who was standing beside Zichen, explained. Almost everyone who should have run had run, so Wei Tuo sped up the absorption speed. Almost in an instant, the entire world exploded. Then, the fragments turned into fine powder. Streams of power emerged and were absorbed by Wei Tuo. At this moment, there were people standing in the void. After the world disappeared, Zichen and the other 2 appeared and became the focus of everyone's attention. And Wei Tuo, who was in the middle, was the focus of most people's attention. Because he was the so-called reborn. Now, it was rumored that every reborn was once a sacred master. This was the closest most people had ever been to becoming a sacred master. For a moment, there was a lot of discussion. Let's go. Zichen glanced at Wei Tuo, who had already restrained his power. Then, the 3 of them turned into rays of light and disappeared from this area. Back in the city, the 3 of them entered a tavern and decided to have a drink before leaving. Everywhere, there were sounds of discussion about the ruins. Some people felt regretful because they did not get anything. Some people gained a lot, so they were in a good mood. After a while, news came that the world had collapsed. Those who did not have time to go and check it out were all regretful. Even if he didn't gain anything, it was still good to be able to take a look at the place where the resurrected ones lived. It didn't take long for more and more people to arrive at the tavern. Some people noticed Zichen's group and their gazes instantly changed. Following which, whispers could be heard as more and more people arrived. Zichen's group could not stay any longer. They could only pay the bill and leave. This time, Zichen didn't use the spirit core. Instead, he teleported away. During this time, Baiyu asked Zichen about the method he used to come here last time and why he didn't use it. Zichen didn't reply, nor did he explain. Right now, not only was he being targeted by the demon race, but even the celestial race was involved. Under such circumstances, he naturally had to be cautious and hide as many of his trump cards as possible. On the way back, Wei Tuo was not in a good mood. 4 of his good brothers who had revived with him had died. Fortunately, he was somewhat comforted by the fact that those demons were also dead. During the era of war, they were able to support each other and advance step by step to become holy venerables. He didn't expect that they would be unable to continue in this era of peace. 10 days later, the The group of 3 was about to approach the area of the Holy Thunder clan. At this moment, Zichen met someone. Pei Wenyao. When he went to look for the remaining members of the He family, Pei Wenyao suffered a loss there. At that time, Zichen challenged the entire He family by himself. Chung Ho suppressed the He family's old ancestor until he didn't dare to appear. Zichen, something happened. He obviously came to look for Zichen specifically. Through the information of the Holy Thunder clan, he knew Zichen's whereabouts. What happened? Zichen asked doubtfully. Are you in charge of the He family's side? No, it's your matter. Take a look at this. Pei Wenyao took out a crystal ball. This kind of crystal ball was usually used to seal images. Zichen took the crystal ball and curiously probed it with his soul power. In the end, he saw the image of him holding a blade and chopping people. In the image, he was holding a blade and chopping people. He killed 4 people one after another. They were Wei Tuo's 4 brothers. However, this image seemed to have been specially processed. Perhaps because of the angle, it didn't capture the 3 fatal attacks on him. I spent a lot of effort to get this. The general idea is that you assassinated those resurrected people in the name of issuing a draft order, Wei Tuo explained. What? By you and Wei Tuo's expressions changed. Zichen handed over the crystal ball in his hand and the 2 of them began to probe the contents inside. Damn it, it seems that there were still people in the dark who didn't dare to come out, Bai said angrily after seeing the contents inside. This crystal ball that had been circulated, in addition to Pei Wanyao's words, the demon's goal was obvious. They wanted to frame Zichen and sow discord between Zichen and those resurrected people. Pei Wenyao said, this is just the beginning. It won't be long before more people know, perhaps even the entire Saint Spirit realm. Wei Tuo said, why don't we announce the truth of the matter? Zichen shook his head. No need. It's useless. The people of the world didn't care about the truth. The so-called truth was what they thought in their hearts. It was useless to explain further. Moreover, this was an intentional framing. There was no lack of all kinds of evidence. Perhaps when he explained, there would be countless witnesses. Zichen didn't have the energy to confront those witnesses. So what if the people of the world knew the truth? Suspicion had already appeared in the hearts of the revivers. It was almost impossible to recruit more of them. Wei Tuo's heart was filled with guilt. It was because of him that Zichen had been attacked several times. Now, the enemy was even scheming to sow discord between him and the resurrected people. This would have a great impact on the situation. If Zichen couldn't gather enough people, how could he face the chaos that might appear in the future? When that time came, he would be a sinner for all eternity. I'll explain, said Wei Tuo. Zichen glanced at Wei Tuo. No need. They're targeting me. Even if you hadn't done this, they would have come up with another plan. Besides, this isn't a bad thing at all. At the very least, those resurrected people will be on guard and won't be so easily fooled. Even if someone came to me, I wouldn't dare to trust them completely. Then this matter. Wei Tuo still looked apologetic. Forget it. We ruined their plans and killed several of their future Saint Masters. It was originally a profitable business. Don't tell me that we can't let them throw some dirty water at us after the fact. Chapter 42-52. Zichen was smiling the entire way. He seemed to be in a very good mood. But the 3 of them knew that this kind of good mood was just to make them feel less sad. There was no one in this world who liked to be framed. The 3 of them, along with Pei Wenyao, arrived at that small restaurant. The noodles were noodles from their hometown, and the wine was wine from their hometown. But Pei Wenyao was sitting with 3 future holy sovereigns and calling them brothers. It was somewhat inappropriate. He felt overwhelmed by the favor. Zichen's status in the Holy Thunder clan was already extremely high. And after he had privately used the Holy Thunder clan's channels to issue that conscription order, it had shocked everyone. The voices of opposition in the clan had long since disappeared. This was because it was very obvious. If nothing unexpected happened, Zichen was destined to become a saint venerable in the future. Everyone knew this in their hearts, and no one dared to cause trouble for a future saint venerable. Even though Zi Chen had used the Holy Thunder Clan's resources for his own personal matters, no one stood out to criticize him. They all chose to turn a blind eye. After drinking and eating, the four of them parted ways. Pei Wenyao left the martial heaven continent. Zi Chen had clearly told him that there was no need to do anything superfluous. He could just let the situation develop. Baiyu returned to his residence. Although he hadn't been able to do anything this time, he still felt extremely tired. As for Wei Tuo, who had lost 4 of his brothers, there was no need to even mention him. His mental state was extremely poor. He went to rest in the treehouse Zi Chen had arranged for him. Zi Chen returned to his residence. Sitting there, he poured himself a cup of tea and began to think about what had happened. A ray of light appeared. It was the hall spirit, Su. Zi Chen was a bit surprised. You were careless this time. No matter what the situation is, you shouldn't have let your guard down. Su continued, in that chaotic era, if you weren't careless, you would have died, let alone carelessness. You might not even be able to trust the people by your side, let alone a stranger. Zi Chen didn't agree with Su's words. Not only could he trust the people by his side, he could even entrust his life to them. But he did agree with some of her points. For example, this time, he had truly been careless. Who would have thought that this was an assassination? Of course, what Zi Chen did not expect was that the demons had actually planned such a flawless assassination. Zi Chen had also considered the possibility of revivers from the demon race. However, in his opinion, these revivers from the demon race would probably behave themselves after reviving. They would be so low-key that it was ridiculous. It was even possible for them to swallow their anger and live in the spirit race. Who would have thought that these people would actually be so bold as to launch a joint attack? Fortunately, they didn't know much about Zi Chen, so they failed to assassinate him. Palace Spirit Su continued, for us to be able to live in this world, we should cherish our lives, let alone you. I don't know what happened back then, but I do know that you are the primary target of the demon race and the god race. It was like this in the past. Now that many people have come back to life and know that you are also alive, they will naturally continue with the goal of the past. After a series of lectures, Hall Spirit Su's goal was very simple. It was to cultivate and cultivate. With the resurrected demons appearing one after another, if Zi Chen's cultivation base could not quickly increase, there would be many similar schemes in the future. Once a demon reached the holy exalted level, it would be even more troublesome. Zi Chen continued to cultivate even more diligently than usual. In just 5 days, the news spread to the martial heaven continent. Other than that, there were all kinds of cheap crystal balls. There were even some shops in the martial heaven continent that began to sell these crystal balls. The principle was very simple. Just make a copy. Furthermore, these crystal balls were extremely cheap. However, after adding information about Zi Chen, their net worth increased by several hundred times. Although the price was still cheap to the divine spirits who were paying attention to this matter, it was enough for the merchants to make a huge profit. Other than that, there was naturally no lack of discussion. For example, Zi Chen's actions were to eliminate those who disagreed with him. Because he had yet to reach the holy exalted level, he did not want those awakened ones to advance before him. Of course, there were also those who did not believe it. They said that this was some kind of scheme. In any case, regardless of whether they believed it or not, the most popular topic in the divine spirit realm was Zi Chen, and the most popular item was Zi Chen's crystal ball. Just as the news was spreading like wildfire, and all kinds of arguments were appearing, Pei Wenyao once again came to look for Zi Chen. He told Zi Chen some news. The first source of the news was the Saint Demon region. The Saint Demon region was inhabited by demons, and they were publicly recognized as the demon race in the spirit realm. The demon ape was cultivating there, and there were also other fake demons. That was all Pei Wenyao could find. After he left, Zi Chen lightly tapped on the table. Could it be that they're hiding in the Saint Demon region? Are they with those fake demons? Thinking of this, Zi Chen had another thought. Could it be that there were fake demons who were loyal to the demon race and did not acknowledge their identity as spirit race members? Or were they secretly protecting them? This news spread like wildfire, but Zichen himself did not make any response. He did not even stop the crystal ball from being sold in the Martial Sky continent. In the past, Jolina had come to look for Zichen and asked if he wanted to ban the crystal ball, but Zichen had refused. His method was to ignore it and not explain anything. Once the storm died down, everything would naturally be fine. That was what Zichen thought, but the demons did not think so. Just as the storm was about to die down, new witnesses appeared. For example, he had personally seen a person go on a killing spree, but he did not recognize that person at first. Only after seeing Zichen's image did he realize it was him. Zichen had never been to the place that the other person had mentioned. As a result, even more witnesses appeared. For a time, Zichen's limelight rose again. Zichen could no longer sit still and wait for death. He called Pei Wenyaro and conspired with him. As a result, in just a few days, outside the Holy Thunder Clan, some witnesses appeared. They spoke very realistically, as if they had really seen Zichen kill people. Some even took out images, but only the back could be seen. They suspected that Zichen was killing people. As a result, even more images appeared. Their faces could not be seen, only their backs could be seen. The weapons they held were all kinds of, and the method of killing people was also to kill. However, with so many witnesses, one after another, realistic stories and images appeared. Zichen's various misdeeds were added up, and the accumulated timeline was obviously wrong. It was as if Zichen had nothing to do all day, never cultivated, and only relied on killing people for fun. However, Zichen had done some things after all. Not to mention the distant ones, just the recent ones, the Lost World, where Zichen had been staying. There was also the matter of him going to the He family and the Kui family to cause trouble, which was also witnessed by everyone. Some people began to mutter in their hearts. It was also at this time that Pei Wenyaro sent the latest news. Many of the rumors about him were indeed spread from the Shengmo region. Thus, Zichen decided to personally make a trip to the Shengmo region. Chapter 4253. Zichen planned to make a trip to the Shengmo region. It was necessary for him to go there and deal with this matter. If he could find the hidden devil race, that would be great. Even if he couldn't find them, he could alert the Shengmo region so that they wouldn't become the target of the entire Holy Spirit world at a critical time. When that time came, a star field would be destroyed. There was no such thing as injustice or innocence. He would rather kill the wrong person than let them go. If there was any injustice, he would wait until he was reborn a second time. Before leaving, Zichen went to find Bai Yu and Wei Tuo. The two of them were very willing to follow Zichen again. It was just that this trip was filled with unknown dangers, so Zichen needed to be fully prepared. Lei Di shouldn't have returned yet. Although Lei Zhengke treated him well, Zichen always felt that he was a little distant. Moreover, as the number one person of the Holy Thunder Clan, Lei Zhengke's first consideration was for the Holy Thunder Clan. Therefore, Zichen went to the demon suppressing gate again. He needed to let them know what happened last time. The spirit core directly brought Zichen to the demon suppressing gate, right under the lightning ancestor tree. It could be seen how much trust Han Enyu had in Zichen. Han Enyu wasn't there, and neither was Chung Ho. Only the lightning ancestor tree was here. Zichen didn't know how to communicate with it, so he sat under the lightning ancestor tree and waited. During this time, he didn't forget to cultivate. As a member of the Holy Thunder Clan, cultivating under the lightning ancestor tree could be said to be twice the effort for half the result. The lightning ancestor tree swayed gently, and strands of light descended from the sky, which were slowly absorbed by Zichen. Not long after, a person walked over from afar. When he saw Zichen sitting under the lightning ancestor tree, he was surprised. Zichen? Zichen opened his eyes and saw a man walking over. He remembered that the other party was called Liu Shanyaro, a former ancient sacred. Why are you here? Liu Shanyaro approached Zichen and asked with a smile. I'm here to talk to Chung Ho, or maybe Sister Hanu, Zichen said. Liu Shanyaro said, those two have just entered the battlefield. If you insist on waiting, I'm afraid it will take some time. Why are you looking for the two of them? If you have any problems, you can tell me. Zichen scratched his head and said, I plan to go to the Shengmo region, and I need to find a helper. Zichen explained why he wanted to go to the Shengmo region and why he was worried about finding help. When Liu Shangyaro heard this, he smiled and said, although the Saint Devil region is filled with fake devils, the auras of the two are still different. One is a devil born from the devil world, while the other is born from the spirit world. You might not be able to sense the difference, but we can. If you don't mind, I can accompany you to the Shengmo region this time. When Zichen heard this, he quickly said, you don't have to go deliberately. I just hope that you can immediately help when you sense the aura of the Devil Saint. Right now, Zichen was only worried about the Devil Saint. Other than that, even if a group of other existences came, Zichen could easily deal with them. Liu Shangyaro said, if that's the case, I will have to go personally. The Devil Saint's combat power is extraordinary. If they really appear, it will be too late by the time I notice and rush over. When he saw Zichen's awkward expression, Liu Shangyaro smiled and said, don't worry, it won't delay my business. Also, I'm currently on vacation. Zichen was relieved. Then, Zichen said goodbye and left. He used the spirit core to return to the Tianwu continent. 2 days later, Zichen called the two resurrected people and went to the Shengmo region. He still teleported again and again. Even if it took some time, Zichen did not want to expose the spirit core. The Saint Liu Shangyaro was already following them silently. As soon as they left the Holy Thunder region, the three of them sat in the flying ship and flew to the next star region. In the void, the flying ship shuttled back and forth like a stream of light. Zichen, who was sitting in the flying ship, could not help but smile. Bai Yu said, looking at this group, there are at least a few hundred people following you. How many forces have their eyes on you? Wei Tuo also smiled. Since they came out, there were many people following them. It was not an exaggeration to say that there were a few hundred people following them. As a matter of fact, when they left the Sacred Thunder region and stepped onto the flying boat, almost all the flying boats behind them were filled with people. Even if some people deliberately sped up and overtook Zichen and the others, they still couldn't hide the fact that they were following them. Zichen said, let's follow them. At least this way, no one will plot against us. However, it didn't take long for new news to spread. Zichen had left the Sacred Thunder tribe. Was he planning to go somewhere to kill someone? After arriving at the next star region, Zichen received the latest news about him. Zichen did not care, but to be honest, what the other party said was not unreasonable. This time, he did go to the Holy Demon region to kill people. As they moved forward, all kinds of news came again, including some personal attacks. During this period, every time Zichen landed from the flying ship, many people would appear and take out crystal balls to record Zichen's whereabouts from afar. After Zichen entered the restaurant, it was full in an instant. During this period, the tables around Zichen were the first to be filled. They did not order, but all of them were holding crystal balls to record everything about Zichen. Bai Yu and Wei Tuo's faces were a little ugly. What was this? Was he a monkey being watched? Zichen did not care about this, because as long as he appeared, these people would inevitably follow him. Only a small number of them were following him. The rest were just recording his whereabouts and selling crystal balls. Right now, in the entire Saint Spirit realm, it could be said that there was no one who did not know him. Everyone had seen his image. Just like those celebrities written in biographies, they could cause a sensation wherever they went. Zichen began to order, but the shopkeeper was worried because only Zichen's table was ordering. The others were not eating anything, not even drinking tea. What was going on? At this moment, someone took out a piece of Saint Crystal and said, consider it the rent for this table. Even if it was the lowest grade Saint Crystal, it was still a Saint Crystal. The shopkeeper's eyes lit up. The waiter immediately stepped forward and took the Saint Crystal with both hands. The others followed suit and all paid. They did not order anything, nor did they ask for tea. The shopkeeper was overjoyed, and when he looked at Zichen again, it was as if he was looking at a rich man. Soon, the shopkeeper realized that the person in front of him was Zichen, so he also took out a crystal ball and added it to the list of records. Chapter 4254. Who is the most popular person in the Saint Spirit realm? Holy Sage Zichen. Holy Sage Zi-Chen was a peerless holy sage from tens of thousands of years ago. He led the spirit race to fight against the gods and devils. After countless bloody battles, he defeated the gods and drove away the devils. He made a great contribution to the spirit race. Holy Sage Zi-Chen sealed himself due to his severe injuries. After many years, he came back to life and created a new legend. The sound of the gong rang out. Amidst the cheers, the storyteller began a new day of work. Tens of thousands of years ago, Holy Sage Zi-Chen was the leader of the human realm. He was the number one holy sage. Tens of thousands of years later, the current Holy Spirit Zi-Chen is the number one Holy Spirit in the world. Today, we will talk about the soul-stirring battle between the immortals. We will talk about the scheming and infighting. We will talk about the love and hatred between the Holy Spirit Zi-Chen and Fairy Lei Lan. When the sales of the crystal balls were booming, the storyteller also opened up a new way to make money. When someone told the truth, there were naturally people who told the truth. That demon Zi-Chen killed people without blinking. In a short period of time, he raised his blade and cut down 4 of his former comrades in a pool of blood, their heads separated from their bodies. Why did this demon attack his comrades? Did he lose his mind, or was he jealous? The storyteller, who specialized in telling the truth, glanced at the expectant crowd and said, "Everyone, please listen to me next time." Boos came from all around. Suddenly, there was an uproar. A group of people walked in. Looking carefully, there were only 3 people in the lead. Behind them were the others. These people were all holding a crystal ball in their hands. Seeing such a scene, if the crowd still didn't know what was going on, then they would be fools. So everyone made way, and at the same time, they all stared at the person in front of them. Zi-Chen. The demon mentioned by the storyteller, the cold-blooded madman who killed without batting an eyelid. For a moment, everyone retreated, worried that they would be killed by this madman. Even the storyteller was stunned. He couldn't believe his eyes. How could there be such a coincidence in the world? He looked around. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, he planned to pack up and leave. At that moment, Zi-Chen's voice rang out. "Old man, your previous story was quite good. Can you repeat it?" The old man looked at Zi-Chen and smiled awkwardly. Then he immediately cupped his fists at Zi-Chen and said, "This old man is just trying to make a living. Please forgive me, young hero Zi-Chen." Zi-Chen. No one laughed at the old storyteller's cowardice after seeing Zi-Chen. If Zi-Chen was really as ruthless as described in the book, none of the people here would have survived. After noticing that it was Zi-Chen, many of the onlookers quietly left. Zi-Chen took out a high-quality saint crystal. The saint crystal flew forward and arrived in front of the old man. Along the way, I've heard many versions of the story, but this one is very rare. I'll have to trouble old man to explain. I also want to know what happens next. The old man stood there, the saint crystal floating in front of him, but he didn't dare to take it. Taking it at this time, was he courting death? The smile on Zi-Chen's face gradually disappeared. Does old man have to be forced to speak? The surroundings immediately became quiet. The crystal balls in the back became particularly bright. The eyes of the owners of the crystal balls also lit up. They all secretly thought to themselves, is a fight about to break out? Is Zi-Chen going to start a massacre again? The old man had no choice but to put away the saint crystal and continue his story. Naturally, it wasn't anything good. After all, this version of Zi-Chen was evil to begin with. Zi-Chen found an excellent seat and ordered a few dishes and 3 jugs of wine. The others swarmed in and surrounded Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen ignored these people and quietly listened to the old man's explanation, a faint smile appearing on his face from time to time. The old man was a little nervous at first, sometimes paying attention to the changes in Zi-Chen's expression, but after discovering that Zi-Chen wasn't angry, he gradually relaxed and began telling all kinds of clever stories. The others around him were very nervous at first, but gradually their mood calmed down. After hearing some interesting parts, they would sometimes laugh. It is said that good and evil will eventually be repaid. Zi-Chen's evil existence to this day is not because he hasn't received his retribution, but because the time has not yet come. When the time comes, he will inevitably, The old storyteller was a little excited, but fortunately, he reacted in time and coughed lightly. How about foretelling the future? Please listen to the explanation next time. The crowd booed again. Chen stood up and the booing immediately disappeared. Everyone sat up straight. They had been so engrossed in the story that they had forgotten the main character was here. Old man's eloquence is really good. I didn't even know I could do such a thing. It's just that some parts of the story are a bit too fantastical. I'll fix it a bit more. Chen smiled, then took out 2 high-quality saint crystals as a reward for the old man, paid the bill, and left. Those who were holding the crystal balls also followed him. However, after Chen left, strange voices sounded out. He's definitely putting on a show. Pretending to be generous and giving out another reward, but in his heart, he must hate that old man to death. Old man, you have to be careful. Who knows when you'll die? These voices spread along with the crystal balls, so naturally, some people told Chen. Inside the airship, Bai said, we're getting closer and closer to Saint Demon region, and the rumors are becoming more and more intense. It seems that our goal was right. Someone can't sit still and is likely trying to provoke us into stopping. Wei Tuo also nodded, indicating that this was a possibility. Chen didn't express his opinion. Everything would naturally come to light when they arrived at Saint Demon region. During this time, the people of the Sacred Thunder tribe had already divided the forces of the Shengmo region to him. Chen had a good impression of the Shengmo region because when he was being punished by the people of the Sacred Thunder tribe, the Shengmo region had spoken up for him. The distribution of forces in Saint Demon region was somewhat similar to that of the Holy Thunder clan. The outer regions were some idle forces with all kinds of crooks mixed in with the honest folk, while the inner regions were guarded by pure bloodline powerhouses. The Saint Venerables were even more elusive. Chen's goal this time was to go deeper and meet the Saint Venerable to ask about this matter. Chen arrived at Saint Demon region, and those people followed behind him in a grandiose manner, obviously intending to spread the news of Chen's daily life. However, before Chen could enter the depths, a 9-star Holy Spirit appeared. Chen looked at the person who blocked his way. He looked like a demon, but there was something different about him. We've found the person you're looking for, said the Divine Spirit. Now we're sending people to guard him. Oh. Chen looked at him. The Saint Venerable said that you can handle this matter here. Don't go deeper. He likes peace and quiet. You're a bit noisy. The 9-star Divine Spirit said, come with me. Chapter 4255. Standing in front of Chen was a middle-aged man. His residence was surrounded by a group of pseudo-demons. No one could enter, and no one could leave. After Chen appeared, the middle-aged man walked out of his room. Behind Chen were Bai Yu and Wei Tuo, as well as those holding crystal balls. But this time, they didn't get too close. They all watched from afar. Chen looked at the middle-aged man. Are you a demon? The middle-aged man calmly said, Spirit. Chen said, there's no point in lying to me. I can search your soul. I can see if you're lying. The middle-aged man laughed mockingly. I'm a spirit. Why would I lie? Chen said, if you're a spirit, why are you framing me? Framing? The middle-aged man said, I'm telling the truth. How could I be framing you? You didn't harm the reborn, or you didn't harm your own people. Chen laughed. If that's the case, then it makes some sense. Would it be convenient for you to tell me who's behind you? The middle-aged man snorted. I don't have any backing. I'm just an ordinary person who knows the truth and is willing to share it. I can't stand you using your superior attitude to deceive others, and I can't stand you willfully killing the innocent. He suddenly took a few steps forward. Looking at the crystal balls in the distance, he said, I, Jiao Fang, am just an ordinary person. I don't have any talent, I don't have any ability, and I don't have much courage. But I don't want to see the future Saint Sovereign of the Spirit be assassinated by such a despicable person. They trusted you and were willing to follow you. Who would have thought that you would use their trust to scheme against them? The middle-aged man pointed at Chen. Are you still human? He said bitterly. The heavens don't open their eyes. How could they let someone like you become a Saint Sovereign? Bai Yu and Wei Tuo's faces were filled with anger. They wanted to stop this person who was distorting the truth, but they were stopped by Zi Chen. Zi Chen looked at him. Are you happy now? If not, then continue. When you stop talking, I'll make my move. I know you may have made some arrangements, but I will still search your soul. Since I dared to expose you, naturally I am not afraid of your indiscriminate slaughter of the innocent. In front of the heroes of the world, even if I, Jiao Fang, die, it will be a worthy death. The middle-aged man's words were resounding and powerful. Immediately, cheers could be heard from behind. Don't worry, said Zi Chen. You won't die in vain. I'll find out who's behind you and kill them one by one. Jiao Fang said indifferently, I've said it before. I'm just a person, an ordinary person. I just don't want the truth to be buried. Zi Chen nodded. I believe that. Don't worry, I won't kill the innocent. After you and the people behind you die, I'll use the Holy Thunder Clan's intelligence network to investigate your family. Jiao Fang's expression changed slightly. Zi Chen continued, it doesn't matter if they are male or female, old or young, or even children in their infancy, I won't let them go. Because this is the price you have to pay for colluding with the demons. In order to prevent this kind of thing from happening in the future, I must make an example out of you. Zi Chen, you really are a demon who only dares to target your own people. The middle-aged man gnashed his teeth. I don't believe that there is no justice in this world. I just told you the truth, and you dared to kill my entire family. I don't believe that no one in this world will stop you. I believe in justice, in the way of the world. Zi Chen continued, his voice as calm as ever. I might be different from what you think. I don't care about face, and I don't care what the world thinks of me. Even if there are countless eyes behind me, you must die today. Now, I want to advise you to pray before you die. Pray that the demons behind you will kill your entire family first. That way, at least they'll have a complete corpse. If I get my hands on evidence, then your family will suffer greatly. Demon. You demon. The middle-aged man began to bleed from his 7 orifices. Before Zi Chen could make a move, he chose to commit suicide. His soul power began to dissipate, the kind that could not be repaired. I'm sorry, but an existence like you doesn't even have the right to have a complete corpse. Zi Chen made a move, even though the middle-aged man had already chosen to commit suicide. With a flash of light, the middle-aged man's soul, which was about to disappear, watched as his head was separated from his body. Behind him, there was an uproar. They had not expected Zi Chen to be so ruthless that he would not even let off a dead person. The fake demons who had brought Zi Chen here, as well as the other fake demons, watched this scene quietly without any change in expression. After the middle-aged man died, the 9-star divine spirit who had brought Zi Chen here said, You've dealt with him. Can you leave now? Zi Chen said, Of course I can leave. But I'll have to trouble you to find his family. Zi Chen pointed at his feet and said, You have the final say in this area. I believe his family has nowhere to hide. As for the other places, leave them to me. Are you sure you want to do this? The 9-star divine spirit looked at Zi Chen. Yes, if I don't go all out this time, who knows if this kind of situation will happen again next time? Zi Chen sighed and said, Many people have told me that when the gods and demons invaded, they burned, killed, looted, and did all kinds of evil, causing the people of the spirit world to be plunged into misery and suffering. Therefore, in this era of peace, we were able to eliminate all the demons hiding in this world, as well as those who colluded with the demons. If there is a real turmoil in the future, many innocent people should be able to survive. The 9-star divine spirit nodded and then left without saying a word. As soon as he left, those who had been in charge of guarding Jiao Fang also left. Shengmo region's attitude was very clear this time. They had already helped him find the person he was looking for, and there was only one person. Therefore, Zi Chen had no reason to stay here. Zi Chen trusted Shengmo region very much. Unless the Shengmo region's Saint Venerables had a need to deceive him, based on the information they had gathered, there was only one middle-aged man who had plotted all this. Their purpose was very clear. They wanted to confuse Zi Chen. At the same time, Shengmo region was using this attitude to tell Zi Chen that he had come to the wrong place. As for who the real culprit was, Shengmo region didn't care. That was Zichen's problem. Zichen turned around and looked at the shining crystal balls, as well as the people behind them, who were silent like cicadas in winter. After all this time, Zichen had finally started to kill people. He no longer maintained his usual gentle appearance. The aura around him was very oppressive. Chapter 4256. The Wu Luo starfield wasn't a very famous starfield, so not many people knew about it. But today, Zichen mentioned this starfield by name. The Kui family appeared in front of everyone for the first time, and even the Wu Luo starfield became famous. But no one knew why Zichen wanted to go to the Wu Luo starfield, and why he wanted to go to the Kui family. The crystal balls began to be sold. Because there were clips of Zichen killing people, they were very easy to sell. The people who followed Zichen, as well as the powers behind them, made a lot of money. After all, these crystal balls were going to be sold to the entire Saint Spirit sector. Zichen did not go to the depths of the Saint Devil region. He turned back and went straight to the Kui family. Where is the Kui family? Bai Yu asked curiously. Why did you go there twice? Last time, Zichen went to the Kui family once, but he did not make a big fuss. Therefore, not many people knew about the Kui family. On the other hand, last time, the He family had become famous because of Zichen's actions there. Go there and have a look. Maybe you'll get something, said Zichen. Bai Yu said, if you had gone stealthily, I believe you might have gained something. But you made such a big fuss, and spread the news early in the morning. Even if the Kui family is a ghost, by the time you get there, it will be too late. Zichen smiled. Who knows? Asterisk 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 now, Zichen was the focus of everyone's attention, including the Kui family, which had been named by Zichen. After getting the news, they could get the latest news every day. Zichen was indeed going to the Kui family, but his speed was relatively slow. Many people in the Kui family were cursing. That damned Zichen had already come once, but he did not get anything. Why did he come again? Did he guess that Jiao Fang, who had been beheaded by him, was arranged by the Kui family? Was the Kui family the one who planned all the negative comments about him? That damned guy is rude and unreasonable. Sooner or later, he will die a violent death. I think it will be soon. It won't be long before they are killed. He is now the first sacred spirit. Who can kill him? The saint, with his personality, who knows when he will offend the saint and be killed with a single slap? Asterisk 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 miss. Is Zichen really going to the Kui family? In another planetary system, a young maidservant was holding a crystal ball, in which Zichen said that he wanted to go to the Kui family in the Wu Luo planetary system. The young lady standing beside the little maid was Kui Jing, who had been expelled from the Kui family. Kui Jing took the crystal ball and saw the contents inside. Her face suddenly turned pale. She recalled the conversation she had with Zichen in the past, as well as the voice transmission Zichen had sent her before he left. At that time, she didn't care. No matter what the Kui family had, she couldn't leave the family that gave birth to her. Until a while ago, she had been wronged and banished. Are these two matters related? Kui Zhu, we have to go back. Kui Jing suddenly said. Go back. The maidservant said helplessly, we have been expelled. We are not even allowed to stay in the Wu Luo planetary system. It is impossible to go back to the Kui family. Kui Jing shook her head and said firmly, we have to go back. The two of them went to the Wu Luo planetary system. Because it was not far away, they arrived before Zichen. The two of them went directly to the Kui family, but they were stopped at the gate. I want to see Grandpa. Kui Jing looked at the guard and said. Unfortunately, the guard didn't even look at her. Every one of them had a cold face and ignored her existence. Grandpa, I am back. I want to see you. Kui Jing shouted loudly. Her voice reached the Kui family. No one responded. You've always loved me the most. Last time, I was wronged. You should believe what I say. But this time, I am not here to explain. I just want to see Grandpa. Kui Jing said again. There was still no response. Kui Zhu stood aside, very nervous. She was worried that the guards would suddenly drive them away. Suddenly, she exclaimed. It turned out that Kui Jing was kneeling. "Grandpa, if you don't want to see me, then I will kneel here and never get up," Kui Jing said. Many crystal balls in the distance lit up. Because Zichen said that he would come here, many people came in advance to see what was going on in the Kui family. At the same time, each of them occupied an excellent position. The scene in front of the Kui family's gate was a good topic to talk about. You have no relationship with the Kui family. What right do you have to kneel here? A cold voice sounded from the Kui family mansion. I have already said that I will strip you of your Kui family name. Men, drive these two reckless things away. A group of guards stepped forward, each of them looking extremely cold. Let's see who dares. Kui Jing's body lit up. The aura of a saint spirit spread out. She was a genuine 8-star saint spirit. Her fighting strength was much stronger than these guards. At this moment, the cold voice sounded again. Who dares to cause trouble in the Kui family? Kill without mercy. Hearing this heartless voice, Kui Jing's face immediately paled. There was no trace of blood. Seeing this, Kui Zhu immediately pulled her miss back. The surrounding people were talking about it. They all wanted to know the identity of this beautiful woman and what was her relationship with the Kui family. The news about Kui Jing spread like wildfire. Zichen also received the news about Kui Jing at the first time. At the same time, he learned the whole story. It turned out that not long ago, Kui Jing made a big mistake, causing the Kui family to suffer a great loss. It was said that the real number was more than 10 times the Kui family's harvest in the Lost World. The current head of the family, Kui Jing's grandfather, was angry and banished her from the family. It was said that in addition to banishment, Kui Jing's property was confiscated. She brought nothing with her, only a maid who had accompanied her for many years. It was said that this maid was left behind by her mother and did not belong to the Kui family. Kui Jing had been banished for a long time. Usually, she did not even dare to go to the Wu Luo starfield. This time, for some reason, she insisted on seeing the head of the family. As a result, she was almost kicked out. After learning this information, Zichen was silent for a while. Suddenly, he sped up his pace. When he arrived at the Wu Luo starfield, he did not stop for too long and went straight to the Kui family. The outside of the Kui family was already crowded. With the arrival of Zichen, the crowd had to make a path. Recently, the Kui family's door, which had been closed tightly, suddenly opened. The current head of the Kui family walked out. He looked at Zichen and said, "Welcome, distinguished guest." He made a gesture of invitation. The door was still open to welcome the guest. Zichen stopped outside the Kui family's mansion. He did not accept the invitation and continued to walk forward. Zichen, who had stopped, suddenly took out a token. This was the token that belonged to him, the ultimate core token. Zichen held the token high. Under the sunlight, the token reflected the light. No one knew what Zichen meant. The head of the Kui family was also stunned. The smile on his face disappeared. "Is the Holy Thunder clan here?" Zichen suddenly asked. "Yes." A person suddenly appeared beside Zichen. "Greetings, sir." Chapter 42:57. Zichen's words shocked everyone. Everyone expected that after Zichen arrived at the Kui family, he would first investigate, but it was highly likely that he would come up empty-handed like last time. The Kui family dared to open their doors to welcome guests, so naturally they were fully prepared. Besides, this was just a rumor. No one could guarantee that there were demons in the Kui family, and no one dared to say that the Kui family had colluded with them. But no one would have thought that Zichen would actually do something like this. He didn't even enter the Kui family's gates, yet he had already dispatched an army. Everyone was stunned. Was this a joke? Of course, Zichen wasn't joking. He directly threw the token behind him. The Holy Spirit of the Holy Thunder clan, who had been arranged to stay in this area, immediately caught the token. In the next moment, his figure disappeared. He had dispatched an army. With the token in his hand, he was like a core elite. With Zichen's special status and identity, dispatching an army wasn't a problem at all. And Chen had clearly stated that he wanted an army of holy spirits. Clearly, a large-scale battle was about to break out. The crowd was in an uproar. In the crowd, Kui Jing's pretty face paled. This time, Chen was clearly serious. It wasn't as simple as just going through the motions. Beside her, Kui Zhu muttered in dissatisfaction, "This Chen is too arrogant. Relying on his status, he dares to commit such outrages. After this mess, what will happen to the Kui family in the future?" The Kui family head's smile froze. He looked at Chen and said, "Young hero, what is the meaning of this?" Chen looked at the Kui family head. "When the army arrives, you will naturally understand." The old man said helplessly, "If young hero feels that the Kui family is suspicious, you can come and investigate at any time. Why bother to mobilize an army? Today, the Kui family's gates are open. You can go anywhere in the Kui family to investigate. If there is any suspicion, the Kui family is willing to bear the responsibility. If you don't feel at ease, you can bring everyone in. The Kui family is willing to open up everything." Many people around nodded. It was not that they trusted the Kui family, but they wanted to visit the Kui family. This way, when they sold the crystal ball, they would have more topics to talk about. If Chen just stood there and didn't move, there would be no new topics to talk about, and the recent sales would definitely drop significantly. No one wanted to see Chen standing there motionless. Everyone looked at Chen expectantly. "There's no need," Chen said coolly. "When the Holy Spirit army arrives and encircles your Kui clan, I'll go in and investigate." The old man's expression darkened. "Chen, are you sure my Kui family is colluding with the demons?" "Right now, we can't be sure," said Chen. "But the truth will be revealed when the army arrives." The old man angrily said, "You dare to surround our Kui family without being sure? Aren't you too arrogant? Who gave you the right? You'll know when the time comes." With that, Chen closed his eyes and began to cultivate. Bai Yu and Wei Tuo stood by his side. Neither of them had the courage to cultivate in front of so many people. Since they couldn't cultivate, they could only stand guard. Above Chen's head, in the air above the Kui family, a man sat there lazily. He held a pot of wine in his hand, slowly sipping from it. It was unknown how long he would have to wait, but the wine was limited. He was Liu Shangyao, the ancient holy sage who had been secretly escorting Chen this entire time. After Chen said he wanted to go to the Kui family, Liu Shangyao arrived in the air above the Kui family ahead of time, then quietly observed the family. He had a panoramic view of every move the Kui family had made recently. No one had fled in advance, and there were no traces of demons. It was as if everything was just a baseless guess. But what Liu Shangyao didn't understand was why Chen had directly dispatched an army. Even if there were demons in the Kui family, it was definitely not something an ordinary Holy Spirit army could fight against. But Liu Shangyao quickly understood Chen's intentions. On one hand, it was probably a show of force. If demons were really found, then the Holy Spirit army wouldn't be targeting the demons, but the Kui family. Once solid evidence was found, there was no need for this family to exist. There was no room for mercy when it came to the god and demon races. In the sea of consciousness, outside Chen's soul, there was a huge vortex that absorbed all the soul power from all directions. Chen was cultivating. Although he didn't expect to be able to advance in a very short time, it was still very good for his soul power to increase a little. Chen was cultivating diligently and wasn't in a hurry at all. But everyone around him was anxious, because Chen really did sit there, motionless. He stayed there for several days. So who should he sell the crystal ball to? But it was worth mentioning that the focus of the entire Holy Spirit realm was on this place. The person who received the order stepped into the teleportation portal immediately and started to teleport again and again. With the core ultimate token, he used the highest authority for the first time. Returning to the area of the Holy Thunder Clan, he went straight to the core city. This was the first time he came to this legendary place, and everything around him was unfamiliar and full of yearning. But with the token, There was naturally someone who led the way for him, and he successfully met the city lord. The city lord had received the news long ago, but he wasn't sure if it was true. Now that he saw Zichen's token, he knew that Zichen wasn't joking. The Holy Thunder clan absolutely had a zero-tolerance attitude when it came to demons. Coupled with Zichen's current identity and status, even the city lord didn't dare to neglect him. So, he went to find the lord personally. Because the core ultimate was the city lord of no return, it was Lei Zhengke's team, and also the top power in the entire Holy Thunder clan. After a while, the city lord returned alone, and the core ultimate token that belonged to Zichen was gone. City lord, this matter. The Holy Spirit who came all the way asked. The city lord said, "Don't worry, someone has arranged everything." After a quarter of an hour, a special secret order was sent out, and all the Holy Spirits who were still waiting for orders in the clan quickly came to the core city. In just 4 hours, a team of 1,000 Holy Spirits was assembled. This wasn't an ordinary team of 1,000 Holy Spirits, and every one of them was a core disciple. In a situation where most of the Holy Spirits were in the Lost World, the Holy Thunder clan was still able to gather so many core disciples in such a short time. It was enough to show how deep their foundation was. There were 3 leaders in this team of 1,000 people, 1 commander and 2 deputy commanders. These 3 commanders were all core ultimate. Everyone set off immediately. A scroll appeared in the commander's hand. He waved his hand and opened the scroll, and a teleportation portal appeared. Chapter 42:58. Zichen was still sitting cross-legged, quietly cultivating. Streams of power revolved around his body. Bai Yu and Wei Tuo were guarding him on both sides. The people at the back were scratching their ears and cheeks. They were all very bored. Zichen sat there motionless, causing the crystal ball to be slow to sell. They had nothing else to do. During this period, the harvest was obviously affected. Of course, the Kui clan was the most affected. With so many people blocking the door, it was almost impossible to get through. It had been a long time since anyone came in or out of the door. The head of the Kui clan did not stay there for long. After seeing that Zichen had made up his mind, he went back directly and did not come out to be bullied again. Zichen suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the sky. Ripples were stirred up there, and then something appeared in the air. Zichen felt a familiar aura and raised his hand to release a stream of energy. That was Zichen's ultimate core token, which appeared in the air. As Zichen released his power, the token burst with a strong light, and then a portal appeared from it. Bolts of lightning raged at the entrance of the portal, and a powerful aura filled the surroundings. "It's here." A strange light flashed in Zichen's eyes. Every core token had a teleportation array hidden in it, and it could only be activated by the owner's power. This portal was a one-time use. Once it was used, the token would be destroyed. The moment Zichen became an ultimate core, he knew the hidden function of the token, but he had never used it. This time, he was going to use it. The cost of a token was very high, and it would be destroyed after one use. This was not a small price to pay. Therefore, he was always using it in an emergency, and at the same time, he had to have a corresponding harvest. If Zichen could not find the devil this time and did not make a great contribution, the loss would be great. Not only would he have to bear the loss of the token, but he would also have to bear the consequences of mobilizing the army. Such an unforeseen event caused the bored people to immediately cry out in surprise. Lightning flashed in the sky as streaks of light and shadows appeared from within. In a short while, a team of 1,000 people appeared, and every one of them was surging with the aura of Holy Spirits. It was indeed an army of Holy Spirit. The 3 leaders were 9-star Saint Spirits. The 3 of them descended and cupped their fists towards Zichen, who was standing up. The leader said, "Lei Zhuo is here to report the completion of his mission." Zichen nodded, then cupped his fist towards the 3 of them and said, "I'll have to trouble Commander Lei Zhuo to give the order to immediately surround the Kui family. From now on, no one is allowed to leave, not even a bird." "Understood." Lei Zhuo turned around, looked at the crowd, and said indifferently, "Immediately surround the Kui family and prohibit anyone from entering or leaving. If anyone disobeys, kill without mercy." "Yes." A loud and clear voice rang out, and the 1,000-strong Holy Spirit army dispersed. Using more than 1,000 core Holy Spirits to surround the small Kui family was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. However, Zichen's orders were like the heavens, so they had no choice but to obey. "Commander Lei Zhuo," said Zichen. "Here." Lei Zhuo turned around. Zichen ordered, "Follow me in later. Let the others stand guard outside." "Yes." Lei Zhuo gave a few instructions to the other 2 deputy commanders, then stood beside Zichen. The crystal balls around all lit up. Since the Holy Thunder Clan had made such a big move, they naturally had to act as well. Zichen looked at the slowly opening gate of the Kui family and said, "Wei Tuo, you stay here too." Wei Tuo nodded. "Young hero, you are a man of your word. Please follow me." No matter how angry he was, no matter how much he wanted to cut Zichen into pieces, the Kui family's patriarch could only welcome him with a smile. Zichen walked forward, and Bai Yu and Lei Zhuo followed beside him. Only the 3 of them went in. As Zichen moved, the people behind him followed. Of course, they did not want to miss such an opportunity. Just these. The Kui family's patriarch was a little hesitant. Zichen said, "If you don't want to, let your people stop them." The Kui family's patriarch said, "How is that possible? I'm more than happy to do so." The patriarch immediately cupped his fists at the group of people. "Welcome to my Kui family. After the misunderstanding with young hero Zichen is resolved, there will be good wine and good food to entertain everyone." Everyone entered the Kui family. Although it was an overlord force in an unknown starfield, the Kui family was not small. Zichen had been here once before, and this time was considered an old visit. However, Zichen's mood was very different from last time. He looked calm, but in fact, he was very nervous because this time, not only did he put a lot of resources on the line, but also his reputation. Whether he could turn the tables and change all of this depended on the results of this investigation. Therefore, after Zichen came in, he spread his soul power in all directions. Unlike last time, he did not look around. This time, he was really investigating. As they walked past one building after another, Zichen's soul force covered every inch of the place, probing for any signs of activity. During this time, he did not find anything. The crystal balls behind him were constantly changing. No matter how today's matter developed, it would leave a thick mark in history. Zichen's soul power was far stronger than anyone imagined, so he had already investigated the entire Kui family by the time he was halfway there. Nothing. Zichen's forehead was slightly sweaty. All the changes in his expression, even the slightest, could not escape the eyes of everyone. The Kui family's patriarch said with a smile, "Young hero, just like last time, I think this is a misunderstanding. If young hero is willing to take your people and leave now, our Kui family will also pretend that nothing happened." This sentence was not said through voice transmission, so it was equivalent to giving Zichen a way out in front of the whole world. However, this was no different from slapping the face, and even the Holy Thunder Clan's face was slapped. Zichen shook his head and said, "I'm not done yet. It's still too early to say this." The Kui family's patriarch's smile did not diminish. "This is a misunderstanding. In fact, when you came in, I wanted to say that if young hero really did not find anything here, wouldn't I be embarrassing young hero and the Holy Thunder Clan? Although my Kui family is not a big family and can't be compared to the Holy Thunder Clan, we still have some face in this area. You guys came to find trouble for no reason, and twice. Do you really think we don't have any temper?" Zichen said indifferently, "Whether we have a temper or not, wait until I'm done looking." The Kui family's patriarch snorted and said, "Zichen, you really don't want face. Do you really think everyone is stupid? Your eyes didn't finish searching here, but your soul power has finished searching 10 times. Why are you still so stubborn? Do you think there's no way to end this? Do you think everyone has wronged you? That you're actually not that easy to kill, and that you don't kill innocent people? Which people did you kill who deserved to die?" The surroundings were quiet, and everyone was copying. Lei Zhuo frowned slightly, and Bai Yu was also a little nervous because he had also checked, and there were no clues. "If I say it's not over, then it's not over." A light flashed in front of Zichen, and the spectre appeared. It had a special perception of the demon race's power. After finding no soul power, Zichen could only place his hopes on it. The spectre soared into the sky, and then searched everywhere. During this period, it jumped over the eaves, and occasionally swept past rows of trees. Zichen didn't leave, and just stood there, waiting for the spectre to return. After a moment, the spectre returned, and then shook its head at Zichen. There was no discovery. Haha. The Kui family's patriarch laughed. Zichen, what do you have to say now? You slandered my Kui family twice. May I ask how we offended you that you didn't hesitate to bring the Holy Thunder Clan's army to find trouble with us? Zichen glanced at the Kui family's patriarch and said, don't be in a hurry to come to a conclusion. I still have a method that I haven't used yet. Even if you're proud, you have to wait until I really have no other way. After saying this, Zichen took a deep breath. The next moment, his eyes flickered. It was the demon god's eye. This was his last resort. If he still didn't find anything today, then he would really be done for. Chapter 42:59. Everyone could see the Kui family's confidence, as well as Zichen's lack of confidence. As a result, the light of the crystal balls became even brighter. If Zichen really gained nothing from the Kui family today, then he would lose a lot of face. Even the Holy Thunder Clan's reputation in the Saint Spirit realm would be greatly damaged. Hearing Zichen's words, the Kui family's old man smiled and said, then please do as you wish. I don't believe that you, Zichen, can say that black is white, and that you can say that there is something you don't have. After using the demon god's eye, Zichen's perception of magic increased by more than one level. At the same time, he could clearly see the flow of magic. Of course, the premise was that there was something. As far as his eyes could see, there was nothing. Zichen rose into the air and looked in other directions. Everything in his field of vision was normal, without any accidents. Zichen stood in the air, looking, probing, searching. The Kui family's old man below shook his head and sighed. I already gave him a way out. Why is he still so aggressive? Could it be that all the major powers act like this? The Kui family's old man said with some sadness, my Kui family has developed to this day. I dare not say that we are very powerful, but we have never done anything against our conscience. I didn't expect to be humiliated like this today. Many crystal balls moved away from Zichen and pointed at the Kui family's old man. The Kui family's old man cupped his fist at everyone and said, everyone, my Kui family dares to swear to this world that we have never done anything against our conscience. Moreover, we have never interacted or had any grievances with Zichen. The only time we met was in the Lost World. However, we have never fought with the Holy Thunder Clan for resources. I really don't know why Zichen is targeting us like this. May I ask everyone, why has our Kui family suffered such an injustice? Is it because we have done so well that others are jealous of us? Then please tell us, our Kui family will change. Is that not enough? Leijua stood there and couldn't help but frown when he heard these words. Baiyu was a little uncomfortable. This old thing really had the ability to make use of any opportunity. He was constantly blowing his own trumpet. Where's your face? But right now, Zichen couldn't produce any direct evidence. Even if he felt uncomfortable, he couldn't do anything about it. At this moment, some people in the crowd couldn't bear to see the sad expression of the Kui family's old man, so they said, if you have any grievances, just say it. Our crystal ball will spread the truth of today's matter throughout the entire Saint Spirit domain. What kind of person is Zichen? What kind of power is the Holy Thunder Clan? We will reconstruct them one by one. Yes, you're right. If you have anything to say, just say it. Everyone spoke one after another. At this moment, the crystal ball recorded everything. The old man shook his head and sighed. Dissatisfied injustice? How would we dare? This time, the Holy Thunder Clan fully cooperated with Zichen's actions. If we dared to have the slightest dissatisfaction, wouldn't we be seeking death? What I mean is, if you think that my Kui family is doing too well, such as benevolence, justice, and kindness, then can't we change from top to bottom? We can also learn to bully those who are inferior to us. How about we use our power to bully others? Don't worry. Today's truth will definitely be revealed to the world. Everyone will know what kind of moral conduct the Holy Thunder Clan and that guy are. A conscription order? That's a joke. Someone in the crowd sneered. Lei Zhuo flew up to Zichen's side. In a low voice, he said, "What do you think?" Zichen didn't say anything. He could clearly hear the unrestrained discussion below. But right now, he didn't have the slightest bit of evidence, so he could only let the old man perform. Quite a few people had gathered in the Kui family. Outside the crowd stood two middle-aged men. One of them wore a long blue robe. Hearing the discussion, he said, "Elder brother, what do you think about this matter?" "What do you think?" said the man next to him. "Elder brother. Since ancient times, disgusting people have never been rare. But Zichen still can't find any evidence." "How do you explain this?" said the man in the long blue robe. "Then there's only one explanation. He's hiding very deeply." Elder brother's voice was as calm as ever. The man said in surprise, "Even now, elder brother, you still believe Zichen? If I don't believe him, then should I believe that old man?" Elder brother sneered. "No matter how bad the current Zichen is, he's still the reincarnation of the former Zichen. You, Gao Ganfeng, don't believe him? If you do, then why don't you go find Zichen and prove his innocence?" asked Gao Ganfeng. Elder brother sighed. "Isn't it because I'm afraid of death?" he said, ashamed. "My cultivation base hasn't recovered, so I can only be a silent supporter. What happened last time was very clear. The demons set up a trap for Zichen to prevent us from unifying and growing stronger. If I go over now, I'll be a target for them. I'm not stupid. So, I can only let Lord Zichen bear the brunt. There's no other way. Lord is Lord. Many years ago, he was the leader of the spirit world. Many years later, he's still contributing to the spirit world." Gao Ganfeng nodded, expressing his agreement. And he believed that many of the reincarnated would be like them. They would choose to silently watch from the sidelines, choosing to believe in Zichen. This was because Zichen had made great contributions to the spirit race. But then he suddenly disappeared. During that time, there were always rumors that Lord Zichen had been betrayed and assassinated by someone close to him. If we don't find anything, we won't be able to wrap things up. Lei Zhuo reminded the crowd, which was already in a state of agitation. Zichen nodded, indicating that he understood. But he had searched almost everywhere, and even used his demonic eyes to look, but he couldn't find even the slightest trace of demonic power. If there really were demons here, then there would definitely be some residual aura. Even if he purposely tried to remove it, he would still be able to find it. But there was none. Not even the slightest bit of demonic aura was left behind. Ghost stood next to Zichen, but she also couldn't find anything. That could only mean one thing: Zichen had really misunderstood the Kui clan. There were no demons here. He was looking in the wrong direction. But if they left like this, not only would Zichen's future days be very difficult, but the Holy Thunder Clan's days wouldn't be easy either. All kinds of rumors could kill. Zichen said again, "Little guy, try harder. I don't believe that they're innocent." Ghost's body lit up, and streaks of black light spread out in all directions, as if she wanted to use her power to investigate again. But she still couldn't find anything. Zichen shook his head. This time, he really gave up. He admitted defeat. Chapter 4260. Zichen's gaze landed on a small forest. The vegetation was green and looked very ordinary. It was no different from the jade trees that were commonly seen. In the Kui family, there were many small trees like this, and Zichen had never paid attention to them. But just now, he had glanced in that direction and found something strange. A strand of the power released by the spectre had suddenly disappeared after coming into contact with those small trees. That strand of power was almost undetectable, and even Soul Force couldn't detect it. Fortunately, Zichen had the eye of the demon god, so he saw it. Zichen thought of a possibility and said, "Little guy, go to that place and release your power." The spectre immediately rushed forward, arriving in the air above the small forest. Following Zichen's instructions, it released its power. Under the eye of the demon god, Chen saw the power begin to disappear. Chen suddenly laughed out loud as he came to a realization. Asterisk 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 everyone. Do you see? Even now, he still refuses to admit that he was wrong, and still wrongly accuses us. Don't tell me he won't leave until he finds something in our Kui family. The Kui family elder cried out in grievance. Who knew that at this moment, Chen's laughter would suddenly ring out. Everyone's attention was once again attracted. The laughing Chen lowered his head to look at the Kui family elder. Old thing, do you still dare to say you're innocent? Whether now or in the future, I will still say the same thing. Our Kui family is innocent. But you, Chen, you've gone too far. The old man's words were sonorous and forceful. Chen snorted. Even now, you're still so stubborn. Then I'll let you die with a clear understanding. Chen raised his hand, and a strand of demonic power appeared. He immediately dispersed the power and scattered it in all directions. Everyone, take a closer look at this power and see if it's changing. Chen smiled coldly. Everyone released their perception, and then keenly discovered that the demonic power was quickly fading away and disappearing. For ordinary people, this would be a normal phenomenon. After fading away, wouldn't it disappear? However, everyone present was a Holy Spirit, so they could naturally sense that this power was disappearing too quickly. The old man of the Kui family said, "What can this prove? You'll know soon enough." "Ghost," Chen said in a low voice. "Cut down all the trees." A ray of light flashed across Spectre's body, and all the small trees were cut down. Right after the sapling broke, the magic power that had disappeared before reappeared. It was the magic power that the sapling had yet to refine. What is this? Everyone was stunned. They had never heard of such a plant. Wrong, wrong. In the void, when Liu Shangyao saw this scene, he couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he laughed bitterly. This item is called Devil Refining Ancient Jade. In our era, it was already an extremely rare item. It was the nemesis of the devil race. Not only could it devour devil race's power, it could also devour the devil race. Earlier, I felt that it was somewhat familiar, but I couldn't place it. These plants should be the descendants of the devil refining ancient jade. They can only devour devil race's power, but not the devil race. In the end, Liu Shangyao apologized to Chen. This was a sound that only Chen could hear. He now had a new understanding of these plants. With the magic power-devouring saplings cut down, the demonic energy could no longer be hidden. Not only had Chen's demonic eye discovered the entrance, but so had Spectre. The old man of the Kui family could no longer smile. Chen looked at him. "What do you have to say now? You cut down some of my precious saplings. What else can I say?" Chen snorted coldly. "Even now, you're still so stubborn. All members of the Holy Thunder clan, heed my orders. From now on, no one is allowed to leave the mansion alive. Everyone who passes you must be a corpse. Yes." A sonorous and powerful voice rang out from outside the Kui family mansion. They had a bellyful of anger from before. If there really was a devil race hiding here, they definitely wouldn't let a single one of them go. The ancient spear appeared in Chen's hand, and he directly thrust it forward. The spear fell into space, causing countless ripples. The space was like a mirror, pierced by Chen's spear, and countless cracks appeared in the surroundings. In the next moment, the cracks collapsed, and a passage appeared. Along with the passage, countless strands of demonic energy, like thick black clouds, spread out in all directions. "Go to hell!" At the same time, a cold voice rang out from within the black clouds of demonic energy. A black waterfall shot straight for Chen. Chen's body lit up, and the light Dun Li appeared, blocking in front of him. In an instant, countless bolts of lightning exploded, annihilating the black clouds. Banging sounds rang out one after another, and Chen's body slid back as he landed, plowing 2 deep marks on the ground. Chen retreated again and again until he was more than 10 feet away. He held the Dun Li with both hands, and stood there motionless. A sharp demonic spike was stuck in his chest. Unlike the previous sneak attack, this demonic spike not only pierced Chen's body, but also pierced through Zi-Chen's growth-type spirit robe. In front of Zi-Chen stood a person. His entire body was covered in a black robe, and he looked coldly at Zi-Chen. "You're still not dead. You really are a turtle. It's you." Zi-Chen recognized him. It was the devil who had appeared outside the Buddhist domain after he had destroyed the devil race's plan. In the end, he had been driven away by the Buddhist domain's Saint Venerate. The black light dissipated, and 6 people stood around Zi-Chen. They were all devils, and they were all 9-star saint spirits. Their eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. Bai Yu and Lei Zhuo each had a person standing in front of them. When the black light had appeared, the 2 of them had sensed that something was amiss and had wanted to step forward to help Zi-Chen, but had been blocked outside. The unforeseen event happened so quickly that the people around them only reacted now. For a moment, there were cries of alarm, and everyone began to retreat. Earlier, they had been by the Kui clan's old man's side, expressing their support for his existence. Now, there was not a single person left. The Kui clan's old man's expression became extremely ugly, and his eyes became extremely cold as he looked at Zi-Chen. He didn't expect that this guy would really find him. Then, the crime of colluding with the devil race was naturally established. Outside the Kui clan, one saint spirit after another rose into the air, filled with murderous intent. Zi-Chen said in a deep voice, "You guys guard outside. Kill whoever comes out. Don't come in." "Yes." Everyone shouted in unison. The people outside obviously guessed what had happened, and they were all in an uproar. Kui Jing, who couldn't enter the Kui clan, collapsed to the ground after hearing this, and her face was completely drained of blood. Chapter 4261. The reversal of the situation happened very quickly, so fast that no one could react in time. Zi-Chen had suffered a fatal attack in a short period of time. The reason he was able to survive was not only because of his strong physical body, but also because of the protective spiritual robe he was wearing this time. Hence, Zi-Chen managed to survive the fatal sneak attack of this half-step holy venerate. Everyone retreated far away. However, they did not flee. They continued to take out their crystal balls and make copies. These were all first-hand information. They could definitely be sold for a good price. Of course, the prerequisite was that they could leave this place alive. Die. The half-step holy venerate that sneak-attacked Zi-Chen immediately charged at Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen hid behind the light shield. Boom. Zi-Chen's light shield was knocked away. However, Zi-Chen was no longer behind the light shield. Zi-Chen appeared at the side. A demon with a broken arm quickly retreated, dodging the fatal attack. Fear flashed in that demon's eyes. Interesting. The half-step holy venerate smiled coldly and clenched his right hand. The demonic spike in Zi-Chen's chest started to tremble. Then, it returned to his hand like a beam of light. The wound caused Zi-Chen to immediately kneel on one knee and hold his chest. Blood flowed out between his fingers. Xiao Chen's injuries were not light. The robe flickered with light and started to repair itself. The half-step holy venerate glanced at Zi-Chen and said indifferently, "This is a pretty good item." Lei Zhuo and Bai Yu were currently fighting the demons and could not pay attention to this side. The others remained far away, making copies. None of them showed any intention of helping. Jiao Ganfeng, who was in the crowd, glanced at Ming Ming with a questioning gaze. Ming Ming stared ahead and said, "Wait first." The second wave of attacks appeared. Those demons charged at Zi-Chen. They were all reborn and possessed strong combat prowess. At this moment, they worked together to deal with the injured Zi-Chen. The half-step holy venerate stood at the side, holding a spear, waiting for an opportunity. Zi-Chen shook the spear in his hand, shaking off an attack. Then he immediately accelerated and charged forward. The spear in his hand was like a bolt of lightning, immediately piercing through the chest of a demon. At this moment, the half-step sacred sovereign shook his hand and threw the demonic spike at Zi-Chen at an extreme angle. Beside Zi-Chen, a bright light shone. It was the light shield that had been sent flying earlier. It appeared out of nowhere and blocked the long spike. Bang! Although the light shield managed to block the attack, the recoil sent Zi-Chen flying. In midair, Zi-Chen's figure was unstable. Shua! Silently, A demon appeared out of thin air. He held a large blade in his hand and smiled coldly at Zichen. He slashed down with his blade. It was a killing move. The other party was skilled in concealment and had been waiting for this moment to strike. This was also the result of their discussion. Once they were discovered, they were destined to die. However, if they could kill Zichen for the demons before they died, it would be a great contribution. As danger approached, Zichen remained expressionless. Spectre appeared beside Zichen and helped him block this attack. When the half-step Holy Venerate saw this scene, he smiled coldly. Another killing move appeared. A second hidden demon appeared. Then, a third appeared. The two attacked together, determined to succeed. Scram! Two furious shouts rang out at the same time. Ming Ming and Jiao Ganfeng, who had been on guard all this time, made their move. The two blocked the sneak attacks of the other two for Zichen. All of this took a long time to describe, but in reality, it happened in the blink of an eye. Every step was perfect. However, was this the end? Clearly not. After the first failed assassination attempt, this was the most likely to succeed. Hence, another demon suddenly appeared. However, at this moment, Zichen, who had always been calm, suddenly had a glint in his eyes. He used the demonic god eye again. In an instant, everyone felt that the space in their field of vision seemed to show signs of distortion. It was like they were in a distorted space. Their bodies could not move at all. Furthermore, the space distorted along with it. These people did not know what was happening. Their eyes were blank. In the eyes of the other people in the distance, the various backup plans of the demons made them incomparably amazed. But seeing that the last demon was about to succeed, suddenly, everyone stopped moving, as if they had been immobilized. While everyone remained motionless, Zichen was unaffected. He steadied himself and disappeared from where he was. In the next moment, black light flickered and popping sounds rang out. The motionless demons were beheaded one after another, causing blood to spurt out from their heads. Ming Ming and Jiao Ganfeng only felt their vision blur. When everything returned to normal, the person in front of them had already lost his head. The two of them were shocked. Fortunately, it was Zichen. If it was an enemy, they would have been the ones to lose their heads. The sudden change in the battle was beyond everyone's expectations. The demons, who had originally held the advantage in numbers, immediately fell into a disadvantage. When the half-step Holy Venerate saw this scene, he nodded and said seriously, "This is actually quite good. It's really quite good. Everyone died for a reason. You have once again proven your strength." Zichen said, "I don't need to prove it. I am strong to begin with." This was not arrogance, but confidence. Although he still could not accept that he was the Holy Venerate Zichen from back then, he was also worried that the Holy Venerate would take away his consciousness once he woke up. However, after knowing the deeds of the Holy Venerate, Zichen had a reason to become stronger. Even if his soul would be destroyed in the end, he did not disappoint those people. In the future, not only would he continue to become stronger, he would also lead more people to become stronger. If this world really gave him a mission, then he would be strong enough to complete this mission. He looked at the half-step Holy Venerate and said, "I know you want to die together with me. For example, you want to shatter your soul and take me with you. Unfortunately, I will not give you that chance." Zichen said, "I went to the demon race once and was fortunate enough to see many half-step Holy Venerates. I also fought with them. Unfortunately, due to some misgivings, I was unable to kill any of them. After returning, I felt very regretful. Thus, today, I hope you can fulfill my wish and help me make up for this regret." As soon as he finished speaking, Zichen took out an object without waiting for a reply. "Are you familiar with this?" Zichen took out the demon god painting and unfurled it. The painting did not take in the half-step Holy Venerate. Instead, it flew into the sky and a light descended. The light enveloped Xiao Chen and the half-step Holy Venerate. Zichen, who was under the painting, smiled and said, "If I beat you now, I feel like I am beating a dog." Zichen snapped his fingers, and a light descended from the painting. When the light landed on the two, the half-step Holy Venerate's aura began to withdraw, dropping one level. Zichen was unharmed. Chapter 4262. Spears, shields, martial arts, and all sorts of powerful attacks landed on the half-step Holy Venerate whose cultivation had dropped. This time, without the demon god watching, Zichen could attack without any misgivings. After using all his means, his wish was finally fulfilled. Even in his heavily injured state, Zichen still managed to kill his opponent. A powerful half-step Holy Venerate died just like that. He was killed by the 8-star Zichen. The surrounding spectators were all shocked. Was this another miracle? However, Zichen also paid a corresponding price for this. His injuries had clearly worsened. Zichen walked up to the dead half-step Holy Venerate. The spike that had pierced his body earlier had fallen to the side. I just happened to be lacking a suitable weapon. You will be the one. Zichen squatted down and put away the spike. This was a weapon refined by a half-step Holy Venerate. Its grade was very high, and it was also a priceless treasure. He put away the weapons, the corpses, and the paintings. Then, he looked back at the Kui clan's old man and said, "Now that things have reached this point, do you still have something to say?" "Yes." The old man nodded and said, "Since you have come in, then don't leave." His eyes gradually turned cold. "Not a single one of you can leave. All of you will die." Suddenly, beams of light lit up in all directions of the Kui clan. These beams of light soared into the sky and gathered in the sky, finally forming a formation. Zichen had seen this kind of formation many times. Back in the demon race, Old Blindy had used a similar formation to wipe out several demon armies. However, today's formation was powered by spiritual energy. It was used to kill the spirit race. The terrifying might coming from the killing formation in the sky made many people feel the threat of death. Their expressions changed, and some people could not help but curse. The Kui clan's old man laughed loudly and said, "Now that things have reached this point, all of you will die. Don't count on others to save you, because this formation is prepared for the worst-case scenario. Even the Lord can't break it." The old man looked around. The Kui clan might have been destroyed today, but history will remember us. Too many people were buried with us, including several who were resurrected, including the future Holy Sovereign Zichen. The old man laughed heartily, not hesitating to sacrifice his entire family. Right at this moment, a ray of light suddenly appeared in the sky, rushing towards the killing array. The old man glanced at it and said with disdain, "It is useless. Even if the sacred sovereign can break through this place, everyone will be dead by then. The sacred sovereign can only come here to collect the corpses." As if to verify the old man's words, when the attack landed, the formation only trembled and twisted for a moment before returning to normal. The old man looked around and laughed maniacally. "Everyone, die. Die with the Kui clan." In the sky, murderous intent surged out as the array was activated. Like a huge millstone, it spun in the sky. Each rotation made people feel as if they were one step closer to death. Everyone felt despair. Some began to curse, others began to beg for mercy. There were also some who were dedicated to their work, and didn't forget to make skill copying. Zichen looked at the sky with a calm expression. "You're smart. You know that begging for mercy is useless. You're quite strong-willed." The old man looked at Zichen and sneered. "But your fake calmness is disgusting. Don't worry, I'll leave you until the end, and then I'll torture you to death. The Kui clan being able to reach this point is all thanks to you. You must be taken special care of." Zichen said, "The Kui clan reaching this point is all your own fault. What does it have to do with me? There are so many great powers in the spirit world, but instead of making friends with them, you colluded with the devil race. If you don't die, who will?" The old man sneered, "Let's see who dies first today." Zichen said with absolute certainty, "You, of course, it will be you." After that, he pointed to the sky. "Look up." Another attack fell from the sky. It didn't look any different from before. The old man said, "I know it's the sacred sovereign," but before he finished speaking, the attack fell with a loud boom. Fine cracks began to appear on the array formation above his head. The remaining power was still there, and the cracks began to spread rapidly. How is this possible? Seeing this, the old man's expression changed greatly. He couldn't believe it. He knew it was the sacred sovereign attacking outside, but a sacred sovereign shouldn't have such power. Could it be that the number one person of the Holy Thunder clan, Lei Zhangke, had come? The cracks on the formation spread to the limit, and then it exploded with a boom. A sacred sovereign stood in the sky. Although it wasn't Lei Zhangke, it was a genuine sacred sovereign of the ancient era. I'll leave this to you. I'll go take a look inside. Liu Shangyaro flew into the depths of the formation, where the sacred sovereign of the Kui clan cultivated in seclusion. The old man of the Kui clan stood there like a fool. This time, he was in complete despair. The previously despairing crowd was now filled with joy. Their first thought was to escape from this place and get away from this dangerous area. They were only here to join in the fun. They didn't want to die here. However, in the sky outside, there were many sacred spirits from the Holy Thunder clan. They wouldn't let anyone go. At least, it was impossible for them to leave now. Therefore, these people retreated and began to attack the Kui clan. They used all their killing moves. Of course, before they attacked, they didn't forget to shout a few righteous words. They said that the demon clan deserved to die, that those who colluded with the demon clan deserved to die. Zichen stood in place and didn't continue to attack. The Kui clan was done for. Lei Zhuo and Bai Yu killed a few high-level sacred spirits. The two sacred spirits who helped before also joined in. Zichen turned around and looked in another direction. That was the place where the demon clan had rushed out. At this moment, there were battles everywhere. Only that place was very peaceful. Everyone present was very smart. They deliberately avoided that direction because they were worried that there were other demon clan members hiding there. If they went in rashly, they would only die. Zichen walked forward. Since no one else went in, he could only go in and take a look. After entering this space, there was a small world inside. He saw some buildings. There was no one living here. Zichen walked forward. He used his soul power to check every place, but he didn't find anything. Finally, he came to the end of the small world. There was an obvious sacred sovereign power here. The sacred sovereign power wrapped around something unknown. This power belonged to the sacred sovereign of the Spirit clan. It was the sacred sovereign of the Kui clan. Suddenly, this power collapsed. Zichen looked up at the sky. He guessed that the sacred sovereign of the Kui clan had died. Chapter 4263. The little tree was not tall, but its roots were thick and strong like a dragon. Its leaves shone with a green light. It was extraordinary. Ancient devil refining jade. Zichen blurted out these words. He recalled what Liu Shangyaro had said before. The little tree in front of him that needed to be sealed by the Spirit clan's saint should be the real ancient devil refining jade. It was said that it was a very rare thing in the past. If the saint had not sealed it here and allowed it to develop, none of the demons living here would have survived. After the seal was undone, the demonic power in the world began to gather toward the little tree. In the blink of an eye, it formed a demonic power vortex. Zichen watched quietly, and the look in his eyes gradually changed. In just a moment, the demonic power in the area was devoured. This little tree was the most precious treasure against the demons. Zichen certainly would not miss it. He dug it up by the roots and put it away. No one came in. Maybe it was because they were afraid. Zichen walked out and did not destroy the buildings here. The battle outside was still going on. The Holy Thunder clan had taken control of the situation. Lei Zhuo first destroyed the teleportation formation that the Kui family could use to leave. Then, he let everyone outside enter the Kui family one by one. Then, they formed a formation and began to sweep. During this time, Lei Zhuo took special care of the places where the resources were stored. There was no reason that Zichen would find that all the good things were taken away by others in the end. If the current situation was described as burning, killing, and looting, it would be a little too much. But it was the truth. No one in the Kui family could survive. Everyone had to die. The various resources that belonged to the Kui family would be divided in the end. Suddenly, a mighty aura came from afar. The pressure of a saint swept through the entire Kui family. The burning and killing situation was temporarily stopped. Everyone remembered that there was a saint in the Kui family. However, in just an instant, the sacred sovereign's aura disappeared. Liu Shanyarou flew over from the distance. His robe was slightly wrinkled as he arrived in front of Zichen. He threw out a spirit ring and said, "The two saint sovereigns of the Kui clan are dead. These are the things that will be useful to you." Zichen received the spirit ring and immediately cupped his fists to express his thanks. At the same time, he was extremely shocked that they had killed two saint venerables in such a short period of time. This was truly incredible, even though the Kui family had always claimed that they only had one saint venerate. Your performance is not bad. Keep up the good work. If you can find all the demons hiding in this world, that would be even better. Liu Shanyarou gave Zichen a few words of encouragement and then soared into the sky. Now that this matter was over, it was time for him to leave. Zichen once again bowed and thanked the sky. He dared to search for the demons so boldly because Liu Shanyarou was behind him. Just as the battle broke out in the Kui family, a small team appeared in the Yunluo starfield. They walked into the Kui family's properties. They did not burn or kill. They only checked the properties and interrogated the people there. All the direct descendants of the Kui family were killed. If they were only hired, they were given a severance fee and allowed to leave. These people were all from the Holy Thunder clan. This time, the Kui family's collusion with the demons was exposed. As the discoverer, Zichen and the Holy Thunder clan behind him would completely take over the Kui family. The battle lasted for a long time, but it was not long for a force that had been developing for countless years. All of their accumulations were destroyed in a single day. When Zichen walked out of the Kui family, the outside of the Kui family was already filled with people watching the show. Among them was Kui Jing, who had not left yet. Zichen glanced at Kui Jing. He did not intend to greet her and walked straight into the distance. Bai Yu and Wei Ta were beside him. At the same time, Gao Ganfeng also came. After the two of them took action, they had decided to stay by Zichen's side. Walking into the crowd, one of them suddenly transmitted a message to Zichen, asking if he should execute Kui Jing as well. This time, it was not only the Holy Thunder clan that came on the surface. Those who were stationed in this area and the nearby areas had arrived early, even earlier than Zichen. When Zichen arrived outside the Kui family, the people of the Holy Thunder clan had already investigated the Kui family's population and various resource deployments. They were already clear. Zichen accurately found the person who transmitted the message and replied, "Since we have already drawn a clear line with the Kui family, we are outsiders. We will only kill those who should be killed." This was Zichen's reply. The person received the order and left. The people who were originally monitoring Kui Jing also left. Zichen did not stay in the starfield for too long and left with the resurrected people. The other things would naturally be handled by Lei Zhuo. He would communicate with the people stationed here. The crystal balls about this incident had already been put up for sale. This time, it was not one by one, but a set. Because of the different angles, the price was also different. From the grievance of the Kui family's old man at the beginning to the appearance of the demons and the final eruption, the crystal balls recorded everything. After these demons were killed, there was no need for Zichen to explain anything. Everyone knew the truth. The last time Zichen went to the Kui family, he did not find anything. This matter was interpreted by some people with ulterior motives as using force to oppress others. This time, Zichen still didn't find the hiding place of the demon clan. In the end, the old man of the Kui clan made a big fuss about it. Many people agreed with him, and many people even said that they wanted to seek justice for the Kui clan. This matter was spread out one by one. Every detail was recorded. It was not that they were good, but that there were too many people. If you did not have a complete set of things, there would naturally be people who would buy something more comprehensive. This trip to the Kui family could be considered to have completely cleared Zichen of the injustice. Zichen returned to the Holy Thunder clan and the 4 resurrected people followed him. Zichen was in a good mood. He treated the 4 of them to drink wine and eat noodles from his hometown. After returning, Jolina told Zichen another piece of good news. The Holy Talisman Realm's teleportation array was about to open. This was a big matter for the entire Holy Thunder clan and was naturally worthy of attention. The opening of the teleportation array was just around the corner. Before that, Zichen had to make some arrangements. Zichen called the 4 resurrected people over and asked if they were willing to go out to train and search for places where there might be ruins. Baiyu immediately understood Zichen's intention. This was to find as many resurrected people as possible. Because there might be demons among the resurrected people, the 4 of them would work together to kill the demons if they found them. If they found the spirit race, they would bring them back. The 4 of them did not have any objections. Before leaving, Zichen specially prepared some life-saving methods for them and some extraordinary pills. At the same time, he told them to run into the void if they found any holy sovereigns of the devil race. Every moment counted. At that time, there would naturally be someone to deal with them. 2 days later, the 4 of them left together. Chapter 4264. The opening of the Holy Talisman realm wasn't just for the Holy Thunder clan, but for the entire Holy Spirit world. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that there were several holy sovereigns present for such a grand occasion. However, the only one standing in front of the transmission array was Zichen. Not to mention a holy sovereign, he wasn't even a 9-star Holy Spirit. Jolena and the others stood behind him with anticipation in their eyes. Once this place opened, it would be a new beginning for the martial sky continent. The transmission array lit up and cheers rang out from behind. This meant that the transmission array had been successfully connected. A tall and slender woman in green walked out from the crowd. It was Qing Yi. She looked at Zichen, who was standing in front of her, and smiled. "Are you here to pick me up? Welcome." Zichen extended his hand. "Welcome to the martial sky continent." Although Qing Yi had been here many times, this was the most formal time. Because she represented another world, the 2 of them were going to sit together and discuss business. Qing Yi reached out and shook Zichen's hand. She smiled and said, "I also brought you a few friends, take a look and see who they are." A celestial maiden appeared in front of everyone. She looked at Zichen and smiled. "Long time no see. Do you still recognize me? The divine soul goddess Lan Jiyu Meng. In the Holy Talisman realm, she was a true celestial maiden." Many people were shocked when they saw this scene. They didn't expect another peerless beauty to appear. "Welcome, fairy maiden, to the martial heaven continent," said Zichen jokingly. Just at this time, a 3rd person appeared. It was actually a woman. In terms of appearance, Shan Ya wasn't inferior to the divine soul goddess. She had also come. Unlike Lan Jiyu Meng, she had followed Zichen for the longest time. Therefore, when she walked out of the teleportation array, she pounced in front of Zichen. Zichen had already opened his arms. In the past, Shan Ya thought that the 2 of them would never see each other again. Once Zichen left, he would never come back. She never thought that the portal between the 2 worlds would open. With her battle achievements, she had the ability to come to Zichen's world. Quite a few people's expressions changed. Such beauties were actually 3 at the same time. Zichen looked at the teleportation array, wondering if there was anyone else. "There's no need to look. It's just the 3 of us. This time, we're just testing the stability of the transfer formation. There won't be too many people coming," Qing Yi explained. Zichen was a little disappointed that Butterball and Yunjin didn't come. After that, Zichen took the 3 of them to see Jolena. The 5 of them first went to eat something and got to know each other. Then, they discussed the matter of the quota. How many people could go at a time? How often would the teleportation array be activated? There were a total of 2 teleportation arrays built this time. Qing Yi didn't mind too much. She only said that as long as there was enough energy, they could send as many people as they wanted. Although the Holy Talisman realm couldn't be compared to the Saint Spirit realm, it wasn't small either. Low-level existences might not be able to survive there. Therefore, most of them sent high-level Saint Spirits. Of course, those who came from the Holy Talisman realm could also come to the Saint Spirit realm to temper themselves. The Sky Martial continent was the bridge connecting them. Before both sides could agree on a name, Jolena had already sent people to spread the news. For a time, It attracted the attention of all the major powers. The original discussion about Zi-Chen hadn't died down. Now, a new round of discussion had arisen. To the major powers, the number of people they could send wasn't considered too many. For a time, many powers went to the Holy Thunder Clan and the Sky Marshal continent to meet with Zi-Chen. Unfortunately, Zi-Chen didn't want to meet anyone. Or it could be said that he wasn't even in the Sky Marshal continent. He was acting as a guide for Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng. He introduced the scenery and people here. The two of them didn't plan to return for the time being. They wanted to stay in the Saint Spirit realm for a long time. Zi-Chen was going into seclusion to cultivate. Therefore, this guide was only temporary. At the same time, Zi-Chen also explained the differences in this world. For example, other than soul power, everyone had the strength of their physical body and abdomen's spirit energy. Therefore, if a battle really happened, they had to be careful. 5 days later, Jolina and Qing Yi came to a conclusion. The teleportation array could only be opened once a year, except for special circumstances. Every time it was opened, 1,000 people could be sent in. Jolina needed to set up a temporary encampment there. This encampment had to be safe enough to ensure that there wouldn't be any accidents before they familiarized themselves with the Saint Spirit realm. Of course, other than paying the toll, these 1,000 people also had to pay some protection fees after they reached the Holy Talisman realm. As for how to collect the fees, Qing Yi had to arrange it. Similarly, the people who came over would also receive the absolute protection of the Sky Marshal continent. They also had to pay extra. Those who entered and left in the early stages would be major forces. Therefore, they wouldn't care about these extra fees. Currently, Jolina had agreed on an entrance fee of 3,000 immortal stones per person. The price was 30 times that of the Lost World's opening. However, the quota was limited. Other than the free quotas that were promised to the Holy Talisman Palace and the Holy Thunder Clan, the remaining quotas were nothing in the entire Saint Spirit realm. Jolina took out 300 quotas at once. These were for sale. As for the other quotas, they had to consider the ways of the world. For example, if a family force was on good terms with the Holy Thunder Clan, then no matter who it was, they had to give them 1 or 2 quotas. Jolina was more experienced than Zi-Chen in this matter. Moreover, this time, she didn't just want to earn a toll. She wanted to open up the trade route between the two worlds so that both sides could buy their own things. It was relatively more difficult for others to do it. However, the Sky Marshal continent had its own teleportation array. It was much simpler. Zi-Chen entered seclusion. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng embarked on the path of training. Qing Yi returned to the Holy Talisman realm and began to implement this matter. Jolina began to focus on handling this matter. During this period, she had to create some exclusive quotas so that it would be easier to identify. At the same time, Jolina also used the quota as an excuse to send out some recruitment. She hoped that more experts would join the Sky Marshal continent. The current Sky Marshal continent seemed to be very famous. However, other than Zi-Chen, there were almost no decent experts. Of course, those who had revived were not counted. It was impossible for Zi-Chen to do everything himself. Therefore, she needed to recruit some capable subordinates to work for the Sky Marshal continent. As time passed, the discussion about Zi-Chen gradually stopped. The entire Saint Spirit realm seemed to have reached a period of peace. It was just that at a certain time every year, the passage from the Sky Marshal continent to the Holy Talisman realm would become a hot topic. However, the true master of the Sky Marshal continent hadn't appeared for many years. Chapter 4265. At the side of the teleportation channel that led to the Holy Talisman realm, high-leveled holy spirits were waiting in neat rows. Each of them held a green token made from wood in their hands. At this moment, they were holding the tokens in their hands as they entered the channel that had opened up. A 9-star Saint Spirit sat cross-legged not far away. He was in charge of opening the passage every year. He was recruited by Jolina with a large sum of money. In the past few decades, Jolina had recruited dozens of 9-star Saint Spirits. Many people had heard that Zi-Chen was in the Tianwu continent, so they asked for a very good price to come over. In the past few decades, the Saint Spirit realm was very quiet. There wasn't much of a topic. There were only a few pieces of news that could be written into books. The only thing that could be talked about was the passage to the Holy Talisman realm. Because of this, many forces came looking for Chen or took root in the Sky Marshal continent. There were also many forces that had maintained relations with the Sky Marshal continent. They had their own shops. After Chen went missing, they stopped their cooperation and left. They were all regretting their decision. If they wanted to return, the price they had to pay was much higher than before. Jolena was busy every day. She had an endless amount of things to do. In this huge world, she had to make decisions on everything. Therefore, her cultivation progress was very slow. However, no one dared to look down on her. In the Sky Marshal continent, Jolena was the #1 person other than Chen. She was a truly indispensable person in the Sky Marshal continent. Chen was still in seclusion. He had no intention of coming out. After Bai Yu and the other 3 left, they never returned. However, news about them would always be sent back to Jolena. If there was an emergency, Jolena would look for Chen and ask him to come out of seclusion in advance. Fortunately, this kind of thing hadn't happened in the past few decades. In a dilapidated planet, a young man covered in blood sat cross-legged and recuperated. There were several fatal wounds on his body. It was already very rare that he wasn't dead. He had escaped all the way here. "You think we won't be able to find you if you hide here?" A mocking voice suddenly rang out from behind them. The young man's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly opened his eyes, and his entire person was in a state of alert. He turned around and stared at the newcomer. "You Chun family bullies people too much," he said furiously. "Going too far. Humph, it's you who don't know the difference between life and death. You actually dared to touch my young master's woman." The other side coldly snorted. "Ling Na is my fiancée. When did she become your young master's woman?" The young man's eyes were filled with anger. "Since my young master has taken a fancy to her, of course she is." The other party smiled faintly and said, "Before you die, do you have any last words?" Let's not talk about it. I won't help you pass the message back. First, you lied to Ling Na and said you would let me live, and now you're chasing after me." The young man's eyes were filled with crazed killing intent. "Fine, if I have to die here today, I'll drag you, a 2-star Holy Spirit, down with me. Yes, I'm a 2-star Holy Spirit. But this time, I didn't come alone. So even if you want to find someone to die with you, you can't." The other party waved his hand. "This time, you're doomed to lose your woman and your own life." There was a flash of light, and 3 more people appeared. A total of 4 2-star Holy Spirits. Their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. The young man despaired. At this point, he couldn't even take his enemies down with him. Suddenly, a hurricane descended from the sky. The hurricane flickered with light, as if it contained something. As the hurricane descended, the 4 people immediately dodged. The young man couldn't dodge in time, and was enveloped by the hurricane. Within the hurricane, the young man's miserable shriek could be heard. When the 4 people heard this, they laughed coldly. "It seems even the heavens want him to die here," said the leader. But as soon as the words left his mouth, the hurricane disappeared. The young man hovered in the air. Not only were his wounds completely healed, but a powerful aura also surged around him. The young man hovered in the air, inspecting his own body. He couldn't believe it. After confirming it several times, he released his own aura. The 4 people, including himself, were all stunned. A 3-star Holy Spirit. In a short period of time, he had advanced from a 1-star Holy Spirit to a 3-star Holy Spirit. Moreover, the young man felt that his power was still increasing. He didn't know what was going on, but for the current him, it was definitely a good thing. The heavens had opened their eyes. 1 against 4. Aside from the suppression of his cultivation level, the young man's combat power was extraordinary. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to escape from a 2-star Holy Spirit. When the battle ended, the young man successfully advanced to a 4-star Holy Spirit. He had truly advanced in battle. Looking at the 4 corpses on the ground, the young man was so emotional that he cried, "Lingna, wait for me. I'm coming to save you." The young man collected the corpses and left the ruined planet. At this moment, he could still feel the increase in his power. The Saint Spirit realm, which had been peaceful for dozens of years, was once again in turmoil. Rumors said that strange winds had suddenly appeared, and there were uncertain factors in them. Some were swept away by the winds and died on the spot, while others obtained opportunities and advanced by leaps and bounds. The strange winds appeared without any warning, as if they were random. According to the rumors, many people obtained opportunities and soared to the heavens. Even in a remote area, someone destroyed a clan that had been oppressing him for many years because of this opportunity. Because of this strange wind, the world became lively once again. Many people embarked on a journey to find the strange winds. For most people, the appearance of the strange winds was only a topic of conversation about opportunities. However, for some powerful existences, they could see things at a higher level, further, and deeper level. The rules of the world gradually showed signs of chaos, which led to the appearance of these strange winds. At the same time, there were many ruins that appeared before the eyes of the world without warning. In addition to these visible opportunities, there were many geniuses who were born with natural phenomena. It seemed that the entire spiritual realm had begun to flourish. Countless geniuses appeared, and there were even more geniuses who were born out of nowhere. One moment, they were unknown, but the next day, they might become extraordinary existences. Bai Yu and the others, who had embarked on the journey to find their clansmen, began a short discussion after hearing about this. After that, Wei Tuor left the group and returned to the Holy Thunder clan, while the others continued to move forward. Just as the world was changing, another person discovered an ancient inheritance. This inheritance was also called the inheritance of the ancients. In the core Thunder region of the Holy Thunder clan, the violent lightning bolts increased without warning, and the overall area of the Thunder region doubled. Chapter 4266. The Holy Thunder clan's strange sound came from the huge lightning dominion. This was a place where very few people came. Even if there were people who came here to temper their power or weapons, they would be at the periphery. Zichen's strength increased again and again. The Sky Martial continent was also getting closer to the depths of the lightning dominion. However, it was only getting closer. It had not reached the depths. This time, the lightning dominion suddenly expanded, causing Zichen's world to move forward. Countless lightning bolts surrounded the Sky Martial continent, directly affecting the operation of the world's laws. There was a problem with the normal order of the world. The sun and moon appeared at the same time. Half of the sky was bright while the other half was dark. Occasionally, huge creatures could be seen flying in the sky. They seemed to be endless lightning dragons. They seemed to be hiding in the clouds, but also seemed to be staying in the sky, and could fall at any time. This caused everyone in the Sky Martial continent to feel an indescribable threat. Some people wanted to leave, but found that the various teleportation formations in the cities had lost their function at this time. The teleportation formation's light was bright and dim, as if it was sealed by some kind of power. As a result, they were even more hesitant. In the various cities, there were signs of chaos. This was a situation that Xiao Lina could not suppress, because she also felt that something was wrong. If those behemoths really landed, perhaps the world would collapse, and many years of hard work would be in vain. Thus, she had no choice but to call Zichen out. The world had an abnormality, and the laws of the world were also in chaos. As the master of the world, Zichen had long sensed it. Just as Zhou Lina transmitted her voice, Zichen had already woken up. Walking out of the room and looking at the abnormality of the world, his expression gradually changed. "What's going on?" Zichen asked. Zhou Lina shook her head, indicating that she did not know. Right now, there was a problem with the teleportation formation. No one could enter or leave, and the news was blocked. Naturally, no one knew the reason. Zichen soared into the sky and sensed the chaos in the various cities. He immediately said, "Everyone, don't panic. I will handle this matter." Zichen's voice spread to every corner of the world through the laws. Everyone heard it clearly. This comforted the panicked people, but they were still nervous. There were simply too many of them. Zichen's figure shot into the sky and faced the other colossal creatures across the world barrier. His world was extraordinary, so it was exceptionally sturdy. And from the looks of it, these behemoths of unknown origins did not seem to have any intention of attacking this world. They just wandered around outside, occasionally glancing through the barrier. However, as Zichen's body rose into the sky, those huge creatures seemed to have sensed some kind of threat and started to attack Zichen's world. A rumbling sound rang out like a sudden clap of thunder. All the behemoths in the outside world were attacking the world barrier. Zichen's world began to shake like a catastrophic earthquake. Fortunately, the ancient trees in the world were stable enough and rooted themselves underground. The world was moving, the people were moving, but the buildings were not moving. Zichen didn't know what was going on, but he had to stabilize the world before investigating the anomaly. Zichen took out the Zichen Palace. This was something that belonged to Saint Zichen in the past. It was definitely a saint-level treasure. After Zichen took out the palace, a saint-level aura spread out from the palace. This aura merged with the world and connected with the laws, stabilizing this world. Those huge creatures that were attacking from the outside world immediately retreated after sensing the saint-level aura. They no longer dared to attack the world barrier. Zichen's world returned to normal. The laws stabilized again, and they were even more stable than before. Everything returned to normal. No one was panicking anymore, but their eyes were looking at the sky. There, a saint-level palace was floating in the air, like a needle that stabilized the sea, stabilizing the Tianwu world. The teleportation array lit up again and could be used again. Some people left immediately with lingering fear, while others went out to report. An hour later, a person appeared in Zichen's world. It was Saint Lei Di. He came to check on the situation in Zichen's world. When he saw the Zichen Palace, his eyes were filled with reminiscence and emotion. After Zichen appeared, he restrained all his emotions and told him what had happened. The Thunder territory had doubled for no reason. The creatures that were originally in the depths were pushed out, and there seemed to be more things in the depths. At the same time, he also told him about the changes that had happened in the Saint Spirit world. In the end, Lei Di asked Zichen to speed up his cultivation and become a saint. Not a 9-star Saint Spirit, but a saint. However, Zichen was only an 8-star Saint Spirit. Lei Di didn't stay here for too long because he had to help go to other worlds, either to migrate or to stabilize. In this sea of lightning, Zichen's world was not the only one. Zichen, who came out of seclusion, learned about the abnormal situation in this world for the first time. He was very surprised. There was an opportunity that fell from the sky without any reason. After obtaining it, there were no side effects at all. He could easily break through. Without a doubt, this was a good thing, but it was also a little unusual. All kinds of geniuses were born, and countless nameless people were rising. Could it be that this world had sensed danger and made warnings and arrangements in advance? Wei Tuo returned alone. After returning to the Tianwu continent, he went to find Zichen. In Zichen's room, Wei Tuo said solemnly, "You have to seize every moment you have to cultivate." Back then, heaven and earth were just as bizarre. At the time, we didn't know why, but it didn't take long for all of the opportunities in heaven and earth to transform into disasters. The natural laws were corroded, and were no longer complete. Holes appeared in heaven and earth, and gods and devils began to invade. We don't have much time left. No matter what, we have to become a saint first. After that, Zichen asked Wei Tuo about the results of these years. Wei Tuo told him that the team had grown. There were now more than 20 people. During this time, there had been several dangerous battles. Fortunately, they had more people on their side. Just as Wei Tuo was warning Zichen, the Saint Venerables of the various large factions left their families and began their first meeting. Due to the abnormalities in the world, they were also on guard. Sensing danger, they decided to make some preparations in advance to deal with any possible disasters that might appear. Lei Zhangke, who had never participated in these matters, personally represented the Holy Thunder clan. As for Ledi, he went to the depths of the lightning field to investigate. His harvest was not small. An ancient ruin had appeared in the lightning field. There should be some inheritance left behind by an ancient saint.